overlooking Murphy Canyon. Annie Halbrin is here. I'm Craig Elsten. Braden Soprenet is here. We go till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris take you to just 4:08 today. 2-hour show for Gwen and Chris with Matt Scraby. And then from Los Angeles, it's Sam Levitt from Dodger Stadium with the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, 5:08. Hopefully a minute later. It'll be first pitch thrown presumably by Yoshinobu Yamamoto, unless these little guys are up to shenanigans for the second straight game. And it will be Yu Darvish for San Diego.
I want to go back to the 08 thing. What if it's 07? If it's earlier, you go?
That's cool.
It just can't be 08.
08 I don't
first
like.
Pitch.
No me gusta.
Okay.
No me gusta.
09 is fine. 07 is fine.
Ocho es malo.
08 is not.
I think I saw on one of the game recaps that it was 6:09 that the game started. I swear I saw it. But
I'm sure it was.
I don't want to go back and look right now, but I think it was.
Good.
I can find all of them for you.
Yeah, there you go. You can find them.
Well, Annie,
look at the one that they won and the one that they lost, Braden.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, hey, knock me off the perch. I'll be happy to do it. Good morning, Annie. What's going on?
Good
How you
morning.
feeling? How you feeling?
Feeling a little under the weather, to be honest, and I hopefully am not bringing anything with me. I think it might just be exhaustion of the week, kind of
Yes.
culminating on a
I get
Friday. But no, I'm excited. It was rough to not have a game yesterday. Good morning to everyone listening. It's a great Friday. I think the Padres have a great shot to win this one. Not saying the Dodgers don't either, but I think it's going to be a really, really good game. And the more kind of previewing that was done last night, the more I was reading about it. I'm sure you guys too. This is a real good matchup, and one that the baseball world you would think is going to be locked in on, because it really could go either way. And both teams have like pros and cons and reasons that they should win or reasons that they should, maybe, or not should, but maybe would lose. And I think it's just going to be a really fun, intense matchup. Hopefully fun for Padres fans on the end of it.
We have no legit data on this. First game was a 5:39 start.
Okay.
Was that supposed to be a 5:38?
It was.
And they lost.
Uh-oh.
Game 2 was a 5:03 start.
Okay, right. Easy
was that
win.
supposed to be correct?
Yeah, that was supposed to be.
Okay. And
Easy
then
win.
the next two were 5:08 starts, or 6:08, 6:08.
Oh, well, then never mind.
So.
Yeah.
I guess
It's
it
just like
actually
the
doesn't mean
Jersey-
anything.
It doesn't mean anything. Just
I
like the
guess it
Jersey
doesn't
guy
mean
Are you
anything.
yesterday.
telling me it doesn't
Yeah.
mean anything? Wow, what a bummer. I thought for sure we were on to something there.
Okay, look.
Craig was about to sacrifice himself and
just
run
ru-
onto
yeah.
the field.
I was
for
going
a
to start
delay.
driving to Dodger Stadium at 2. I'd get there right on time to go
That's
running out
right.
onto the field and delay things
Yeah.
for a minute.
This is also why we don't go with our perceptions of things, because look, he looked it up. Business as usual.
Exactly.
Yes.
Nasty facts getting in the way of our
Right,
emotions.
right.
Look, I'm not superstitious. I did eat avocado toast this morning.
That's
There you
always
go. Bring it
delicious.
back.
Let's all consider a little plant power today. Let's all consider adding some avo to the sandwich or to the salad today for lunch. Or if you're yet to eat, if you're a late riser, maybe get that avocado toast. Think about it. Doesn't hurt. It's not going to hurt. Worst thing that happens is you ingest a healthy fat.
Just go drop $17 on the avocado toast and enjoy it.
Mine was
Get
only
the extra avocado.
Mine was only like $8.
Where are you going for
Gold
$8?
Coast Bagels.
Oh, okay.
La Mesa.
Must be very
Amazing.
difficult
Shout
to
out.
get avocados out to Alpine.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think I see it for under like $13. But hey, maybe that's just but it's always on like a gourmet bread
Right.
and with like microgreens on top and pine nuts toasted and
Yeah, the more
whole
description in just
Radishes.
avo toast, the more that they
Right.
describe, the more they're just trying to charge you. I mean, yeah, we'll sprinkle some microgreens on. Now it's a $16 piece of toast. Nonetheless, I'm also wearing the exact same thing I wore for game 2. Because, again, what's it going to hurt? It was washed. It was washed in between.
We don't believe in
It
superstitions
was washed in
here.
between. But listen, honestly, I'm just waiting for 5:08. I'm just waiting.
It does feel like that the whole day today, and I bet people at work or people driving around, like you're like, what am I doing today? What am I doing today? Oh, but just got to get to 5:08. 5:08, and probably about like 5 p.m. people get settled in their houses, or if you're going to the game, Well, if you're going to the game, you probably want to be there by like 4. But
3.
maybe 3. Yeah, exactly. But
L.A., are you kidding?
I mean, that's one thing I am glad about. At least it's at, as rough as it's going to be for traffic in LA, at least it's at 5:08 and not like 7:10 or, one of those times.
7:40 start.
Yeah, it would just be too long to wait. Like, let's go. People are going to get off work, go right to the game or watch the game, go right to their house or listen on the radio. Local watering hole. Get the game on, and hopefully by tonight, the Padres are preparing for a Mets game on Sunday.
Yes.
Hopefully it's us bitching about a 1:08 start on Monday.
Well, I'm happy to bitch about that a little bit later on, or actually to be fine with it a little bit later on, just depending on the point of view that you may ascribe. Okay, let's admit it. We're heading to a big game. This is a football field for a baseball game.
This is a big game. I mean, I didn't realize for elimination games, the Padres have not had many, right? I mean,
they have
literal elimination games.
And you know what? For some fun, coming up on the Padres Deep Dive Hour today, instead of trying to get super analytical about one of these matchups that we've already experienced and machinations that we do not know, we're going to look back at the 3 winner-take-all games in the history of the San Diego Padres. I've found the clip from '84. I'm pretty sure, I was asking Adam about this before the game. I'm pretty sure we actually have the Jesse calls from 2020, 2022.
Perfect.
3 times that the Padres have faced not elimination, right? Because they've been beaten in Game 4 of the '98 World Series, or Game 3 against the Cardinals. But
or you won the NLDS last time against the Dodgers,
in Game 4.
Right.
Yeah. So this isn't closeout elimination, right?
Yeah.
That's a different category. This is deciding game.
Yeah.
Winner take all,
game. Yeah.
both teams facing both closeout and elimination in the same game.
They faced elimination in the 2020 wild card, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, they
Game
did.
Yes.
Craig Stammen.
And the Mets game in 2022. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they faced elimination twice in 2020 against the Cardinals. They were down 1-0 in the series. They won Game 2 to force Game 3.
Correct.
And then they took the winner-take-all Game 3 4-0. Then they went to Texas to play L.A., and they lost in 3 games. Just 1-2-3.
Right.
1-2-3 punt. And that was the end of the 2020 season. 2022, Padres led in the wild card 1-0, lost Game 2, came back to win Game 3, the winner-take-all game 6-0 behind Joe Musgrove, and then, of course, went on to L.A., lost Game 1, won Games 2, 3, 4, faced Philadelphia, lost Game 1, won Game 2, lost Games 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
And that's how that one kicked. But, 3 times the Padres and their opponent have been in the same bucket, same spot.
Do or die. Win or go home.
Padres home twice, road once.
Yeah.
And they've won 3 times. We'll go through those, hopefully, to, manifest good memories, evoke the Padres gods, get them feeling great, get the vibes right in the universe for this 508 deciding game, the 4th one in Padres history.
And there's history. I mean, history can always be broken, of course. But if history can be on your side a little bit, the Dodgers haven't won a postseason series at Dodger Stadium in front of a crowd since the 2013 NLDS against the Braves, not counting the 1-game wild card in 2021. Their last 6 series wins, excluding 2020, have all come on the road. Dodgers are the best home team in the National League, I believe. Padres are the best road team. So it just, again, sets up to be like, which part of history is going to break out here? Because, again, the Padres did this also, they did this before, right? They did this in New York when they were facing the 3-game elimination there against the Mets. They did it on the road there. I think that being on the road at Dodger Stadium, I don't look at it as a bad thing. But you see like these like differentiators that kind of, some of them go the Dodgers way, some of them go the Padres way, and of course it's really none of it's going to matter once it gets to 508.
It's going to be an exciting game, and when I say we should stare it in the face, I really do believe in that, like not getting all overhype on emotion, like looking at things cold and real, because then you can walk into it knowing what's what. For good or ill, 2024 San Diego Padres season is going to be remembered for this game. One way or another.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yes.
The season will be remembered for this game, either as an incredible moment in the history of the franchise or truly a devastating moment in the history of the franchise. This has been a magical season. This has been a season filled with belief, filled with hope, filled with encouragement, and supported by a team that put up so many remarkable wins this year. Not just that they won games, but the way they won so many games this year, showing resolve, overcoming adversity, coming from behind, winning in their final at bat, showing toughness, showing clutch, in so many different ways. Even when they only won half their games, 50-50, the team kept finding ways to grind out victories. Behind all of this, the specter of Peter Seidler and everything that it has meant for this franchise, his passing in the offseason, wearing their heart, his heart on their chest at every game, having the Seidler heart up in their dugout, compete for Pete, all of it, we have felt at many times in the second half as if this is a team of destiny. But destiny meets opportunity meets reality tonight. Somebody's season ends tonight, and it's going to be gruesome for whichever fan base it is. The Padres walk into L.A. and beat the Dodgers in a Game 5 that L.A. earns. The Dodgers are gutted as a franchise. If the Dodgers win, come from behind, the Padres will have blown a 2-1 lead in this series, and had it right there in their hands in front of their crowd. And if it washes out the wrong way, that's all we'll remember. It will dull some of everything that came before, even though it should not. It will. So I'm willing to accept that. This is one of those games. You live for these games, these moments, and sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. But these are the moments as a sports fan that you dream your team is going to be a part of.
Absolutely. I mean, 100%. If you're a player, this is what it's about. I mean, there's so many players that are sitting at home right now that are not in the postseason. If you're a baseball player or a player of any sport, this is what you play for. You play to be in these games. Sure, would it have been great? Yes, of course. That entire clubhouse wanted to win on Wednesday and go home and get ready for the Mets. There's no doubt about it, but you're still in it. You're still fighting. If you win, you get to celebrate on their home turf, on the Dodgers home turf, in front of those Dodgers fans who've been booing you and throwing things. And there's been all that drama in that series. There will be a sweet victory to that. And then they'll come home, and I guarantee you there'll be tons of Padres fans waiting for them when that bus arrives back at Petco Park. So you're going to get to have that moment in front of your fans that maybe you didn't get to have if you advance, right? Like, you're going to get plenty of opportunities for those other moments. And there's a good chance, both teams play a really good game today.
Yes.
And it could just go either way, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be that one team just sucks and the other team does well. I think it's an interesting decision that they are going, or saying they are going, with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We'll get into that. I thought Dave Roberts, talking in his press conference yesterday, he said, he was asked about like momentum and all that, and he brought up kind of what we've been talking about on the show the last few days, which is, hey, the teams that are playing the wild card games, they keep this momentum. They keep this feeling of regularity and winning and going. And we're trying to manufacture it right now. And that's been the difficulty for us, and when you play the wild card and you win, you get more belief. So he was kind of saying that in his press conference. And it kind of puts the dot, you see how these two teams, like, even feeling wise, might feel a little different coming into this one. So going to be a competitive one. I can't wait. Going to be a lot of fun, but it's going to, I'm sure, nerve-wracking for everybody involved too.
Why wouldn't it be?
Right.
We're playing a baseball game.
Yeah.
We're playing a baseball game. It's going to come down to somebody trying to hit a round ball with a round bat squarely. It's the silliest game in the world. It's why I always say baseball is stupid, and no one should watch, but we're all going to be watching tonight. We're all going to be watching. And listen, confronting something directly, I see some folks that are kind of getting it in the chat and understanding, like, this is the moment. This is the moment that you're here for. This is the moment that you get ready. Eric in the chat says, this is what dreams are made of. Elsewhere, it's like, oh, why are you so pessimistic?
Right. Shaggy says we're trying to prepare fans just in case they lose. No. I'm saying that you can't overlook the Dodgers. Like it's
Correct.
going to be a good game with two good teams that are both fighting really hard to make it to the next round. Actually, we'll see, right? Maybe one team will fight harder than the other. Who knows? But my guess is they're both going to fight pretty darn hard.
My thought is this is going to be the game of the year. And therefore, as I said, it's a game with a football feel. I'm going back to the same cliche that I used for game 1 and every game. Clear eyes, full hearts, game 5. Let's go. That's the attitude you got to have. Just attack it. This is the moment. Attack the moment. This is why you play. This is it.
Yeah, and I also think like the offense hasn't scored in 15 innings, but you flush that. And I was saying before the show, I think they're due. I think that that's actually a good thing for the Padres. Like when that's happened in the past for them, then they break out with this crazy game. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy against the Dodgers, but I don't look at those 15 innings as a carryover to tonight. This is a whole fresh slate with an offense that is very productive, has been very good, a pitching staff that has been very good. So, I mean, look, the Padres could very well be celebrating in the Dodgers clubhouse, visiting clubhouse, for the second straight time in the last few weeks.
That's all I can imagine tonight. That's all I can think about. It's all I could think about yesterday, and I'm glad we had a day's buffer. I'm really glad yes, I am really glad we had a day's buffer. As agonizing as today is, counting down to 5:08, as agonizing as this is, and honestly, we're passing the time with you all here. We're trying to all accomplish the same thing today, I think, which is get to this game. Let's fill our heads and minds and hearts with good ideas. Let's be optimistic. Let's be together. Let's understand it's a battle, man. We're going into war. That's why I always look at this stuff this way, and I mean that only in a sports metaphorical sense. No one's going to get hurt tonight, we hope. This is a baseball game they're going to play, but in that sense, we're all galvanized together. And I believe the Padres are going to come out on top tonight. I do. I'm thrilled that the Dodgers decided to start Yamamoto, unless they're lying about it, which I wouldn't be surprised if they were. I wouldn't be shocked at all if it at 4:24 p.m. Oh, late scratch. Yamamoto feeling a neck pain, and we're going to go ahead and pitch our bullpen today instead. We'll just go ahead and scratch him. I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. But this team is ready. This team has faced adversity multiple times through the year. This team had to get through a September to get here, and they did it. They drove all the way through with positivity. We haven't seen this team stumble multiple times in a long time. And I'm ready to believe that both teams are going to give their absolute best tonight. I have the fullest respect for a dangerous Dodgers team with a great lineup that is hard to shut out. That's for sure. But we've got a great lineup that's tough to beat too. And on this night, take every single stat in the universe, throw it, crumple it. It's going to come down to what happens in the game and who gets off on the good foot, where the energy goes, where it flows, and how it ends, nobody knows. But we're going to be there for all of it with you right here.
I think it's a great sign that Kevin in the chat, who was very down yesterday, Kevin was very down in the chat yesterday. He has seen Luis Arraez find the praying mantis, and praying mantises are a sign of good luck, and he has come around. Kevin in the chat, I think that's a good sign, Kevin. Feeling good about it. I think Arraez is due. I think the praying mantis is a good omen for them. So I'm happy to see that positivity.
Here's what's coming up between here and 2 o'clock, when we immediately get back to just going, how much longer? How much longer? We can have the countdown as we go. We will talk, obviously, about the elements of this game, and we'll do some more in the very next segment. We'll take some calls this hour.
Let's talk a little Yamamoto, too, and what the strategy might be there.
I would love to.
Yes.
I would love to. In our third segment, not this next segment, but in our third segment this hour, we'll take some phone calls. Let's hear you guys get hype. Let's hear it. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Not now, but in 2 segments. As mentioned, on the deep dive, winner take all games in Padres history. Again, you want to feel good vibes? How about the previous 3 times that the Padres faced this moment, this glorious moment? accept the moment. It's a glorious moment. Somebody lives, somebody dies, in a sports sense. And here it is. Here it comes. So we'll give you those highlights. We'll give you those feels again of when the Padres have risen to this occasion.
And thanks everyone for being here. It is really cool to be with everyone who's in our chat or listening or part of this in any way as we head into that 5 o'clock game. It makes it a lot more fun.
Absolutely. Our buddy Dylan from Letters to AJ. I think we've won every time he's been on the show. I feel like that's the case. Dylan will be on at 11:35. He was at the last game. He's written about the whole series. We'll chat with Dylan later in the deep dive hour. Of course, we'll bring you the 12 o'clock sports fix. We've got all the rest of the weekend sports info. There's plenty of things happening this weekend. There's some gigantic college football games this weekend. Our beloved Lions play a big game this weekend. The Wave play.
I do not even.
You don't even know?
I don't even know.
So, yeah, exactly. Okay. It's a distractor. Later in the show, as a pleasant distractor, we have a couple of distractions for you. Okay. We've got the rest of the weekend. You can just go, oh, yeah, and then you'll remember it tomorrow.
Okay.
We've got Anybody Knows, the game of easy trivia. Mm-hmm. Always a good time. Later on, Media Melanie, Crossing Streams, give you a TV show you can watch Saturday in between baseball games, right? Right. Game today, game Sunday.
At Petco Park. Right. You can watch your TV show.
Game today, game Sunday. Okay. Saturday, got time to watch TV. So we'll bring you that. We'll do Ask Us Anything, and absolutely, we're gonna look at this thing dead on and take it dead on, just like the Padres will, because they're going after it tonight in one of the most meaningful games in the history of the franchise, and we're all going to experience it together with Jesse and Tony on the call right here on 97.3 The Fan. Back with more Yamamo. What? Okay, we'll do it when we come back on Annie and Elsten here on The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Fired up for this game this afternoon, this evening, 5:08. Will be the first pitch for the Padres and the Dodgers from Dodger Stadium. One of the reasons why I think Game 4 hit hard was it felt like LA had figured out something in terms of, we don't have to use our starting pitchers anymore. Like, this is a short enough series. We just literally can throw them in a cabinet, ignore them, leave them on the bench in a warm-up jacket, and pitch our bullpen and find success. They did find success that day. They may try some version of that later today, Annie, but according to L.A. and manager Dave Roberts, although presumably him speaking on behalf of Andrew Friedman, or maybe Mark Walter, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is scheduled to start and throw the first pitch tonight for Los Angeles. I'm really surprised. How about you?
Very surprised. And in Dave Roberts' press conference yesterday, he said, this was before they announced that Yoshinobu Yamamoto would be the actual starter. He said, we expect Yoshinobu to be part of the plans. We expect to use him at some point tomorrow. He wouldn't rule out Jack Flaherty being used at some point today. He kind of had that mindset, and this is maybe a little bit of gamesmanship too. Mike Schilt did the same thing with perhaps using Michael King today, and that's what you want to do, right? It's an all-hands-on-deck game. It is truly an all-hands-on-deck game because if you don't win, as we've said, you go home. You don't need to worry about saving arms necessarily, and if you are the winner, you can figure out what happens on Sunday. You still have an off day on Saturday, and then you can figure out your plan for the Mets series. So I did think it was interesting because even if I thought to myself, okay, well, either they've identified that if they use him and don't scratch him or something, either they've identified that he was tipping pitches and that the Padres were onto it, and they feel very strongly about that, and they feel like they have solve that problem, which I don't know totally that they have. He was thought to be tipping pitches too in Japan.
I remember,
right at the beginning of the season.
In the Korea game, that was they were like, he's tipping pitches.
Yes.
We got that on lock now. And then he's struggled against San Diego in all three of his appearances.
Yes. And then if you're using him, say you're like, okay, we're only going to use him for one time through the lineup or maybe just 2 innings or whatever. Well, the Padres do the most damage on him in the first inning. I mean, Yamamoto has allowed 13 runs off from the Padres, and 10 of those have come in the first inning throughout this year and the season series with the Dodgers and what happened in the postseason, right? So I don't know how you take that risk and you feel great about it. Even if you're like, well, he's not going to see him through the second time, through the third time through the lineup. Well, who cares? The Padres do a lot of their damage in the first time they see him, the first inning they see him. So I don't totally get it unless they feel just very strongly that the guy who was really good for them throughout the season, who did have starts against teams, not the Padres, but other teams that were brilliant. I mean, Yamamoto was excellent for a chunk of the season, but he has not been that way against the Padres, and you would have thought that would have been enough that they wouldn't have used him. But hey, good for the Padres, maybe. I don't, right?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that LA had another option beyond a bullpen game. They could have started Jack Flaherty in this game. When we get to the deep dive hour shortly, Jack Flaherty has already faced the Padres in a winner-take-all game in his career. The wild card game in 2020, winner-take-all, was started by Jack Flaherty. He was really, really good in that game.
Yeah.
He went 6 innings and gave up 1 run in that game, and it wasn't until the 6th inning that he gave up 1 run. Like, he's done this against some of these players in the past, but they did not select Jack Flaherty, and there's like a very low percentage chance that they would ask him to come out of the bullpen today when the Dodgers have the cadre of relievers that they already have. I think for both teams, quite obviously, this only depends on the scoreline. If you get to minus on the scoreline, you're down by 1 run or more, you're going to pull your starter at the first sense of danger, and you're going to go to the freshest arm possible. This is 2024 Major League Baseball. The new inefficiency in the game, they're always searching for the new inefficiency. We're seeing in these playoffs, one of the new inefficiencies is 6 guys who can throw 100. And just throw them. Throw them. Different one each inning, different look each inning. It's really, really hard for teams to beat bullpens that have that. Cleveland has it. Detroit has it. LA has shown it. Like, we've seen it throughout the playoffs this year.
The big thing, if they go with more of a excuse me, if they go with more of a bullpen game, the big thing is going to be, can those guys come out of the bullpen and be as good as they were the other day?
Right.
Or will you have a weak link in the chain? Will you have a guy or two that just doesn't have his stuff that day? And he's got to face the requisite 3 batters. So, will there be a chance for the Padres? And I'm sure the Padres are thinking that on their side. Hey, if they go with a bullpen game, here's the vulnerabilities of this guy, this guy, this guy. So this is what we're going to look for, and we're going to be ready for it when he leaves a pitch a little too high or he doesn't hit a spot or whatever, right? So that's going to be the danger there for the Dodgers. That can you replicate exactly what happened on Wednesday and have the same execution that happened? And I think on the Padres side, and I know you guys mentioned this yesterday too, maybe they didn't have their best at-bats on Wednesday. Like, maybe they are also coming in thinking, just wasn't our best attempt. It wasn't our best effort.
Yeah.
If you lose the game, you'll look back on that for sure, right? You will look back. If you win the game, you will mostly forget about that 8-0 loss. I mean, not
completely.
Totally,
No,
but
most
mostly,
totally.
It's part of the series, but whatever, you gloss over it. You just mention it, side note. And it makes the victory even that much sweeter, right? You face some adversity. You are up 2-1, then they even it out, and then you get the win. And, it just becomes part of the story, part of the lore. But yeah, it is interesting. Maybe they do bring Jack. Maybe this is gamesmanship, and they scratch him and they bring in Jack Flaherty, or maybe they truly believe that Yamamoto has found something that they think can be dangerous against the Padres tonight.
I even had another thought, which maybe we'll find out after the game. Maybe we won't. Who knows? Maybe it's complete nonsense and conjecture on my part. But tonight, now shapes up to be the most meaningful game with Japanese players pitched in the history of Major League Baseball. This is a winner-take-all game with the all-time Japanese ace on one side, the most recent, Samurai Japan ace, right? Yamamoto was the ace of Samurai Japan in the 2023 WBC.
Yeah.
He was their number one pitcher. Darvish was in the bullpen. Yamamoto started the title game. So you've got these two guys, one of whom grew up idolizing the other.
Yes.
And they are going
friends.
to be and they're going to pitch against one another in this winner-take-all game with Ohtani playing, for LA.
This is going to get major ratings in
It's
going
to be the most watched game in the history of Japan. Most watched Major League game in the history of Japan.
And honestly, Japan can't lose because whatever team wins, you have a Japanese player that's. Look, Darvish, and when he first was with the Padres, and as I learned more about him, he was LeBron James in Japan. I mean, he still is. I mean, he is revered. To them, he is similar to LeBron James, and then you've got Ohtani, who of course is that level, or who knows, not sure the whole levels there, but it's as higher, right? Then you've got Yoshinobu Yamamoto, same thing. And I also kind of wonder, Darvish is so smart, and he's worked with Yamamoto, and they're friends. Is there little things that he's telling Padres hitters to look for? Is there? I don't know if there'd be enough there that could really make a difference necessarily, but what are the kinds of behind the scenes things that might be happening in terms of trying to get an edge here?
Yeah, I literally wonder if Yamamoto went to Dave Roberts and said, "Give me the ball," in a Dylan Cease type situation. Hey,
do you think baseball went to them and said, "You"?
I do not think that.
Put your Japanese
that would be
players
amazing.
on the mound.
That would be amazing. But no, I do not think that. But I do wonder if he was like, I want this moment. I want this moment. Darvish is out there. Ohtani's here. I want to be there. I also wondered if ownership was like, hey, we spent $325 million for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If you don't start him, it's a really bad it's a bad look. It's a bad look for the franchise in terms
Yeah.
of our investment. That we start a dude who we got at the trade deadline over the guy that we invested the most money for a free agent pitcher in the history of the game.
If that backfires on them and that does come out, they just want to protect their investment here or put their investment out there, that's just a risk that if you're truly caring about winning Game 5 and that's your thought process. It's quite the risk, because the other thing about Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he hasn't been himself in the second half. He's been sick. He had an injury. He came back. He hasn't been stretched out. 2, you can tell he gets visibly nervous. Like, you can see in him, he gets some fear in his eyes. You've seen it when the Padres have touched him up. He has a different body language to him. On the other side of that, I'm not saying that they can't touch up Yu Darvish, like any given day, any given player, all that good stuff. But Yu has so much experience now. He didn't have a great Game 7 for the Dodgers when he was there pitching last for them in an elimination game, right? But Yu's someone who's been in the league a long time. He's learned from things. He's got a lot of experience being in these big moments. I think that's an advantage for the Padres as well.
When we come back, let's open up the phone lines, 833-288-0973. Let's hear you guys get hyped for this Game 5. 833-288-0973. A winner-take-all game, the 4th in the history of the San Diego Padres franchise. It happens live on 97.3. When we come back, we open up the lines. It's kind of an early Ask Us Anything here. 833-288-0973. We'll hear from you next on The Fan. Big game day. 10:45 the time on the Fan. It's Annie and Elsten here with you. We are all in the same boat together, hoping to row in the same direction toward Victory Harbor tonight. Padres and Dodgers. You've heard from Annie, you've heard from me, you've heard from Braden. Let's hear from you. We've opened up the lines, 833-288-0973 for a call segment. We'll try and get through as many people as quickly as possible. And we'll start things off with Richard in Hillcrest. Hello, Richard. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Happy Friar Friday. Let's go Padres.
Let's go Padres. I love it.
Here's what I'm hoping for, guys. I was in Boston on that Saturday afternoon when Manny Machado came up to the plate and got booed ferociously by the fans, and he bombed 2 home runs in Boston this year. I'm hoping it happens in L.A. tonight.
He's very well known for that. You boo Manny, and Manny will just make you pay. Manny will get a hit. Manny will get a home run. Manny will do something. So the booing really never bothers Manny. I think it fires him up even more. So maybe
here's something else I hope the guys do at the plate. I hope they're aggressive with this pitcher. I hope they can rattle him, get on base, maybe run around a little bit, hit and run, whatever it takes to rattle this guy. Because I think he's beatable, very much so.
Yeah, and they've done it in the past. They've done it this year, and they've gotten into Yamamoto's head.
Good call, Richard.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We talked about process and approach and how maybe the Padres deviated from it a little bit in Game 4. Tonight's the night for it to lock in. This is that kind of thing that you want to hear them say, soaked in champagne and beer after the game. We prepared for this from the first day of spring training, and that is to use the middle of the field, to hit line drives. Hit line drives. Use the middle of the field. Go the other way. L.A. is happy to goad you into what they want. They play extreme defensive formations. They're the most analytical team in all of Major League Baseball. So whatever the card says is the exact place for them to play, they're going to play that every time. And if that means opening up the opposite end of the field, which they did all game in Game 4, the Padres need to be looking that way and looking to take advantage. And I know that the Dodgers are going to bust them inside when they're playing them to pull and try and get guys to, turn and roll the ball over. But when that ball's on the outside edge, you cannot be looking to pull. You got to be looking to flare it the other way. And those little flares are going to add up to a big inning for San Diego. It has all year.
The Dodgers also, at least in the games that we saw at Petco Park this week, not the best defense. And I don't mean that they're getting errors, but they're just typically you kind of hold your breath. Like, are they going to make that defensive play? Are they going to make it in time? Take advantage of that, like throw them off their game if you can. Take advantage of any, sometimes, drop balls or just beating out the throw at the last second because they were a little bit too slow, whatever. Like you want to take advantage of that, and you want to, as Mike Schultz says, you want to give nothing away. Play the absolute cleanest baseball that you can for the Padres. No errors, no miscues. As much as you can, you got to eliminate that.
As such, I'm going to be paying a real close attention to walks in today's game. Who is strong on the mound. Here's Chris in Escondido. Sure. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for taking the call, guys. Always good to talk to you.
You bet.
Just a couple of points. Everybody's speculating about who's available tonight for pitching. My view is I don't think there's any way in heck we're going to see Flaherty for the Dodgers, because that would mean they would have to open a potential 7-game series on Sunday with a bullpen day. And I don't think that if it does happen, I think it'd be pretty dumb on Robert's part. And the same with Michael King. That would mean that Cease, if we do win, Cease would have to come back on Sunday, and given what we've seen the last couple starts, that would be a little shaky. So I'm pretty sure Michael's not going to pitch either. And for some weird reason, I've got this odd calm today, even though I will be popping a couple Xanax before the game starts probably.
Then it will not be an odd calm. It'll be a chemical calm at that point.
Yeah, exactly. But I just because of what we've seen all year, I mean, we've had tough losses, and this team, and I know I've heard Tony Gwynn say it, they've been able to flush these tough losses and bounce back just like it never happened. And if you think about it, Suarez had 3 bad blown saves in that last month of the season, and I looked it up. After all 3 of those blown saves, they came back and won the next game. So I'm not concerned at all for whatever reason, probably ignorance or whatever you want to call it. But I'm more than a little confident that we're going to handle the situation tonight.
I love it, Christopher. Thank you so much. Appreciate the phone call.
Yeah, it's really one of their best traits as a team is that resilience for the Padres. So you're spot on with that. And the players mention it too. They believe in it because they've done it before.
100%. Let's go to Steve in Poway. Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, I want to start off before with my comment. I've been watching the Padres. I was just thinking about it for 55 years. I've been watching them since Westgate Park. And praises the sound. This is the most important game they've ever played, in my opinion, in the franchise history. So that being said, I would make one change to the lineup tonight, which is probably not going to happen. I would move the DH behind Merrill because Dave Roberts proved in the last game that he's not going to let Merrill beat him, and I have no confidence in Bogart behind him. And I think by putting the DH behind Merrill, it gives you some 3 or 4 different opportunities to use somebody in that spot.
You know, it's an interesting point, Steve. And I tell you what, I mean, AJ Cassaville today wrote his column and literally laid out what I was talking about yesterday, which is that the way the Padres lineup was set up for Game 4 made it easy on Dave Roberts. It gave him a very distinctive lane for a right-handed reliever, and it gave him a very distinctive lane for a left-handed reliever, and it made it straightforward in terms of, okay, when the Tatis, Profar, Machado window comes up, that's a righty. That's a righty every single time because Profar's better against left-handed pitching, right? Then you get to the Merrill point in the lineup, and from that point down, it's a lefty because from LA's standpoint, they're willing to fade Bogarts against a left-hander, and they're willing to fade Higashioka against a left-hander. And against everybody else, a lefty is super effective. Peralta, Cronenworth, and even Merrill have, big platoon splits, 200-plus OPS point platoon splits this year. And AJ was like, well, if you really wanted to combat that, here you go. Here's the lineup you'd use. He put Merrill up to third. He moved Bogarts down a little bit, and he moved the DH slot up, which is exactly what Steve was talking about. And it created a very balanced lineup that would not have a distinctive lane. And then he immediately wrote after that, and here's why they're not going to do that.
Right. But I totally get the thought process behind it. I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, absolutely. It would go left, right, switch hitter Jurickson, left, right, the way that you and Cassaville are laying it out. So I completely understand that. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they'll change that much.
I don't think they'll change anything.
Right. And there are pros and cons, and depending on how the result of the game, we can discuss that, but especially next week. But typically, they just don't want to change that much at this point, in the season, because it can mess with some hitters' heads and can get them feeling a little bit out of rhythm. I don't think anyone would say no to it in the clubhouse because I think everyone understands the situation that is happening right now. Like, it's all hands on deck, it's do or die. But I don't think that they'll go in that direction. But I get the argument for sure.
I said it yesterday, and I will say it again, and I see Calvin in the chat mention it as well. I don't always ascribe to the recency bias of what happened yesterday as opposed to what's going to happen today. On Game 4, David Peralta got 2 hits against a left-handed reliever. That's amazing. And to think that he's just going to do that the next time would be fool's gold type of thinking. Donovan Solano has been a good hitter for this team all year. All year. And I know he hasn't hit yet in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the Donovan Solano 4-hit game is in his bag. That's something he's done many times this season. That, oh, by the way, Donovan Solano got 4 hits out of the 7 or the 8 spot. And I have no problem at all putting another line drive hitter who has a tremendous at-bat, who is such a good swinger with 2 strikes, who knows how to use the entire field, who has bat control, and you have the ability to manipulate the game with him at the plate. I have no problem putting pro hitter Donovan Solano in tonight's lineup.
So Donovan Solano's 1 for 4 in the playoffs. He's got 13 ABs. David Peralta is
4 for 10.
4 for 10. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm with you. Look, listen. I don't know what you do in this situation. Like, I'm not sure, because to me, they're both good. It's really, to me, it's like, who for the Padres, who do you think is going to be their the pitcher that stays out there the longest? Who do you think is going to have their best shot at getting to one of these guys? Donovan Solano's there is what they call the professional hitter. And we know with Donovan Solano, 2 strikes doesn't scare him. 2 strikes is when he comes to the party. So I think that if you put him in the lineup, he's going to, do as great of a job or have as great of an opportunity as David Peralta. I think it's just going to be up to them kind of matchup-wise what they think is the best.
Thanks to the folks for calling in. For folks on hold right now, we'll get back to more calls later in the show. But when we come back, trying to keep our minds right, gang. Winner take all games in Padres history. Let's take a fun walk down memory lane next. Padres Deep Dive Hour. Let it be one of many to continue for the month of October. But it is a decision day for the Padres Deep Dive Hour. As Annie and Elsten continue hour number 2 here with you live from our Odyssey studios. Annie Hobban, Craig Elsten, and Braden Suprenant with you. 5:08 tonight, the winner-take-all game. It is Game 5 between the Padres and the Dodgers. One of our callers last segment, Annie, called it, in his opinion, the most important game in franchise history. I think there's a touch of recency bias to that.
I feel like it has to be more of getting to a World Series or being in a World Series, but to each his own or her own.
It's the most important game in the 21st century for the Padres.
I could see that argument. I could see that argument, yes.
I think
There hasn't been a lot of those games, so yes definitely.
Yeah. And while, as you're about to hear, the Padres have faced winner-take-all in the past, including in this decade, never mind this century, twice. San Diego in a division series, a Game 5 winner-take-all. That hasn't happened since 1984. And for the Padres and Dodgers, of course, it's the first time ever that the franchises have faced one another in a winner-take-all. Winner go home, somebody wins, somebody loses, champagne waiting, just which clubhouse does it head to by the end of the night. That is what's happening. That's what's at stake tonight.
And the more pressure is on the Dodgers. And when you've got the billion-dollar payroll, now certainly they can look back and they can say, well, we had injuries and they did, and we had this and that. But the pressure on the Dodgers to be able to even the series and to be the expected team that they were, to go farther, right, and make it to the World Series and have Shohei Ohtani, like, that's going to be on the Dodgers. So good for the Padres. Like, you go out there, you play your game, you play a little looser maybe, obviously, focus, but you don't want to be too tight for any of these games. You want to go out there and just treat it like a normal game, but completely locked in, completely focused. And I believe the Padres have been doing that now for over a month, even dating back all the way to the All-Star break. More times than not, that's how they've been facing every game. So I think that puts them at an advantage as well.
It's so exciting tonight. We can think of every single possibility, but when you get to a winner-take-all game, you never know who's going to be the star, what's going to be the moment, what inning is going to present the spotlight to whom, and who will grab it and who will not. You're going to have some fun with this, fans. Let's keep our minds right. Let's keep the vibes immaculate and talk about the 3 times in San Diego Padres history that they have faced this game. Winner take all. Somebody goes home, somebody goes on. The first of these games is the second or third most famous game in the history of the franchise. I still kind of think Game 4 of the NLCS in 1984 with Garvey's homer might be the one that people remember a little bit more because Garvey saved the season, extended it, forced the Game 5 with his walk-off homer. But Game 5, October 7th, 1984, put the Cubs against the Padres at Jack Murphy Stadium in front of an absolutely sold-out crowd of well over 50,000 Padres fans. And I want to tell you right off the top, part of the reason to do this rundown is to remind you that game situations in winner-take-all games are rarely, although sometimes, perfect for your team. Sometimes they're perfect. Sometimes you take a lead and never let it go. Other times, like this date in 1984, things can go quite wrong. And in fact, they did for the San Diego Padres on October 7th, 1984. It did not start well. It was Eric Schau against Rick Sutcliffe, and the Cubbies scored 2 runs in the first inning. 2-out walk to Gary Matthews. Leon Durham hit a 2-run homer, and it was 2-0 Cubs. Jody Davis, the starting catcher of the Cubs, led off the top of the second with a solo homer off Eric Schau, who had a very Dylan Cease-like line. 1 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs. Soon-to-be National League Cy Young Award winner Rick Sutcliffe was on the hill. This was the gigantic disparity in this matchup. It was like, okay, the gutty little Padres who had never done anything, they made it to Game 5, but now here come the Cubs. They were the heavy favorites, and the reason was they had their ace on the mound. Sutcliffe had pitched a shutout and hit a home run earlier in the series when the Cubs walloped the Padres at Wrigley Field. Now, Sutcliffe rolling through 5 shutout innings, allows just 2 singles and a walk. 5 innings into the first winner-take-all game in Padres history, the score was 3-0 Cubs. Padres comeback begins in the 6th. Alan Wiggins, Tony Gwynn single. Steve Garvey walked. The bases were loaded with nobody out. The Murph was rocking. The Padres didn't get a hit. But 2 sac flies followed. Greg Nettles and then Terry Kennedy both hit the ball deep enough into the outfield to score the runner. 3-2 Cubs to the 7th inning. And here's something I guarantee you won't see today. A starter staying into the 7th inning in a game where they've already given up offense and let 3-0 get to 3-2. Starters out of there today.
Now, if there's no offense for the Dodgers, I think Yu Darvish stays as long as he's dominating.
Correct. But in modern game, when
Right.
the starter starts to wobble, they're out of there immediately. Back in these days, the starter went till he spit the bit. And Sutcliffe was still out there
Which is
in the
crazy
7th.
in a game 5, in an elimination, in a do-or-die game. Still kind of crazy.
But the thing is, in 1984, starting staffs were set up so that, like, your best pitchers were your starters.
Yeah,
and then
that's
you had
true.
your closer, which was maybe your next best pitcher. And usually the other relievers, with only a couple of exceptions, they just weren't as good.
Right.
As the starter they're replacing. That you didn't have a guy throwing 99 in the bullpen. You might have had one guy throwing 92.
Now you have like 5 guys in the bullpen throwing 100. right?
Exactly. It's a different game.
Yeah.
And that's why this is fun to me, is to remember an older game. Sutcliffe out there to start the 7th. He walks Carmelo Martinez to start the inning. Again, he's not pulled. Then the Padres bunt him from first to second base and sacrifice an out. What followed, one of the most famous plays in Padres history, Tim Flannery hits a hard ground ball to first base that goes through the glove between the legs of Leon Durham for an error, scoring Carmelo to tie the game. There is a famous story out there that Ryne Sandberg, the Hall of Fame second baseman of the Cubs, accidentally poured his Gatorade on Leon Durham's glove in the dugout, making it slick.
Sticky? Or slick.
Slick.
Okay.
And that it, as such, the ball slicked through his glove. Not to be proven for sure. But that play tied the game and brought up one Anthony Keith Gwynn to home plate. Here's the call from Game 5 of the '84 National League Championship Series.
Alan Wiggins did a great job. He played hardball, big league baseball, did anything to get on, put the bat on the ball for a single to left field.
Hard, Sandberg over his head, a right center field base hit. 1 run will score. Mona is slow getting it. Here comes Wiggins. Here comes in front of the play. He's sick. The third is win. 5-3, San Diego.
Don Drysdale with the call right there.
I got chills. I love seeing that. I love their uniforms too.
Yeah.
I love those uniforms. Tony Gwynn, come on.
The rocket shot that did it hit a rock? But it went over the glove of Sandberg, a different universe that could have been a double play. The ball fires past with so much topspin, so much heat. Fires past Sandberg. Gwynn with the 2-run double. The throw went home to Wiggins. Gwynn went to third base. He would then come in on a single by Garvey.
Look at Jack Murphy Stadium.
Right?
Look at it just completely full.
And the loudest place you can ever be.
Yes.
The loudest place you can ever be. I'll never forget
Amazing.
it when that place absolutely rocked. Yeah, Garvey singles in Gwynn, 6-3 the score. Goose Gossage then pitched the final 2 innings for San Diego. Worked out of a 2-runners-on jam in the 8th. Gave up a single in the 9th, but scoreless final 2 frames, and the Padres go to their first World Series with a 6-3 win.
Amazing. Amazing. Come on.
How
I mean,
about
that's
it?
electric. That's like chills up your spine, like the little goosebumps on your arms. That's magical.
What do you take away from this, gang? Don't despair. If the Padres are down 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, game ain't over.
Mm-hmm.
If they're shut out for 5 innings and the scoreless streak goes to 20 in the playoffs, God, no. Game ain't over. Game ain't over till 27 outs. in Major League Baseball postseason winner-take-all games, anything can happen. Anything can happen. John Cassidy, if they were huge favorites, why was Game 5 in San Diego? Rules were different back then, John. Wasn't the same rules as it is these days.
1984.
It was 1984. It was 1984. The Cubs were
And
gigantic
who might
favorites.
have that Tony Gwynn moment today, right? Who might be able to do that? It's pretty special.
Was he a rookie that year?
He was a third-year player. 1982, his debut season. Yes. So that's Game 1 of 3 winner-take-all games in the history of the Padres. Let's go to the second one.
That have all gone the Padres' way.
Yes, they have. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yes.
Spoiler alert. These are all good stories.
This is a good omen for Padres fans right now. They all end well.
They do. October 2nd, 2020. National League Wild Card Game 3. The COVID season. The season we watched from our living rooms or our laptops or wherever. You might have been in the. Were you
I
in the
was
ballpark?
in the press box,
You were
right?
in the
But
ballpark.
there was cardboard cutouts and no fans, and those were the days that you could walk I would just do laps around the concourse to get steps in, and that's it. You know,
Literally?
Yeah.
because there was no one there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2/3 of this show we're at Game 1 of
Yeah.
the playoff series in the National League Wild Card.
And remember the Padres staff put together like a little section, and they were like a cheering section.
Yes.
And beyond that, it was just the non-cheering voices of the cardboard cutouts and the
And
Lexus
everybody
seats.
in all of the apartments throughout downtown on their patios trying to
Yes.
make as much
Yes.
noise as
And that-
possible.
Yes.
I did a story for the UT on that, and that was the big thing. Everybody was on their balconies and their rooftops and their,
That was super
anywhere they
cool.
could to make noise, right?
And then the watch party they had at the Lexus lot
Yes.
where
Yes.
the lights of the stadium that would flash on home runs and you could see into the stadium, which would happen before the delay of the broadcast in the parking lot. So
People in
they'd
their
see
cars.
the lights flickering for a home run as they are 2 pitches behind on the drive-in movie that they were watching. And all of a sudden,
always how it is,
they
the
start
delay.
honking their horns, right, and getting super excited because they knew something big was going to happen. And they'd watch the stadium, and then it'd be like, oh, this is probably going to be really good. And then they see, they'd freak out. I remember one of the guys on our staff who took his kids to that was sending us videos of it. It was the most remarkable thing ever. Something that you will never, hopefully we never have to experience again. But what a unique moment for a lot of fans that took the Padres offer up into doing a tailgate outside to watch. But just a really remarkable playoffs in 2020.
Remember when they clinched to get to the playoffs and they had the 10th man sign or
Yeah.
whatever, Jerks and Profar and Fernando Tatis Jr., and they were shouting up at all the balconies of people watching them. And yeah, it was pretty cool.
One of the strangest times we'll ever experience, hopefully in our lives. I don't want to do one stranger.
Sometimes I think back, and this is a total digression. We should move on to the clip, but I'm like, did that even happen? Like, it's crazy to think about now. We look back at that, and it was like
It all
that
happened.
all happened.
It did.
It all happened. I was
anyways.
taking 5-mile walks every afternoon.
Yeah, that's all you
Literally
could do.
every afternoon.
Driving to different neighborhoods and taking walks in different neighborhoods to change the scenery.
Had such a routine. Oh, I had like 4 different routes in my
Yeah.
neighborhood. I would do like the A, B, C, D walk. One of them was up to 7 miles. One of them was like 4. Everything else was 5 or 6.
And we were watching like Don and Mud do was it like KBO game? No, it wasn't KBO.
No, they
games.
were
It was
doing
like,
the MLB The Show
MLB
stuff
The Show
that
games,
we
right.
did on the
Yeah.
station. We
Oh
did
my
that every
gosh.
Friday.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Simulated an MLB The Show game. I would like to say, though, because we all get to make a lineup, my lineup was the first lineup to win, which is great. So
There you go. There you go.
some of us know ball. Some of
no
us
ball.
don't.
Some no ball. October 2nd, with all of this prelude, it was Jack Flaherty and the St. Louis
They
Cardinals
meet again.
facing a San Diego bullpen
Wait,
game.
who was the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals?
That was Mike
Schilt.
That's right.
Mike
Mike
Schilt.
Schilt. That's right.
And the Cardinals against Jace Tingler and the San Diego Padres. This is Jace Tingler's greatest game
It was a
of
good
his
year for
life.
Jace Tingler
Well,
that
this
year,
is the
yes.
game of his life. Is October 2nd, 2020.
Craig Stammen started.
Yes,
Shout
ma'am.
out
Yes, he
Craig Stammen. Did an excellent job.
Now, for context, the Cardinals took game 1 pretty emphatically, roughing up Chris Paddock, as you remember. The Padres then trailed game 2 4-0, came from behind,
Yes.
lots of offense late, an 11-9 win to force the winner-take-all showdown. You mentioned Craig Stammen. He got the first 5 outs. He was followed by Tim Hill, Pierce Johnson, and Adrian Morahone. They combined to keep the Cardinals off the board for 5 innings while Flaherty was dealing on the other side, shutting down San Diego's offense. Johnson came in and struck out Dylan Carlson to get out of a bases-loaded jam in the top of the 3rd inning. In the 5th inning, Morahone struck out the first 2 batters, but then gave up a single, and Fernando Tatis Jr. made an error at shortstop that put 2 runners on. Austin Adams came in, struck out Paul Goldschmidt with that crazy slider, and kept the game scoreless. Bottom 5. Fernando makes up for his error. He doubles with 1 away. And with 2 outs, who stepped up to the plate? But Eric Hosmer.
Haas, first pitch swinging into left field in that corner. Carlson can't get it. It will go past him and roll all the way to the wall. Coming on in here at second base. Top of his hands, looking at his dugout. Eric Hosmer has got an RBI double, and the Padres have a 1-0 lead.
I forgot Ted was doing those games.
Me too.
Teddy
Some
Leitner.
nostalgia right there.
Also, charisma in the chat. Take the cake. Do you remember that was their
Yeah.
thing?
Oh, my gosh.
Take the cake.
Yes.
We want the big cake.
That's right. Take the
I
cake.
actually didn't mind that one. I like that one.
That was funny.
Yeah.
That was a 1-0 Padres lead. This will stun some people who may have forgotten this little note. Luis Patino was the next pitcher in for San Diego. And in his career highlight moment for the San Diego Padres before turning into Blake Snell, he worked around a walk and a single and pitched a shutdown inning. He got the 0 on the board to hold the 1-0 lead. Emilio Pagan pitched a perfect 7th inning to hold the 1-0 lead. In the bottom of the 7th, Padres add to the lead with a pair of runs helped by a Tommy Edman error at 3rd base and Hosmer drawing a bases-loaded walk. In the 8th, facing Cardinals reliever Alex Reyes, Jake Cronenworth hit the coup de grace.
Cronenworth with a big swing here, sends it out towards deep right center field. Carlson, the center fielder, going back at the wall. He leaps, it's gonna go! Jake Cronenworth leaves the yard. A moonshot up over the 396 sign to the right of straightaway center field. His first career postseason home run, and it's an add-on in the bottom of the 8th. 4-0 San Diego. The first home run of the night, and maybe the dagger.
Jake Cronenworth did it then, did it against the Dodgers. Jake Cronenworth might be Jake Cronenworth's night tonight.
It could be Jake Cronenworth's night tonight. And the Padres would finish this game off 4-0. Drew Pomerantz, a perfect 8th inning, and Trevor Rosenthal struck out all 3 Cardinals looking in the ninth. All 3 watched strike 3 go by, and in front of dozens, the Padres celebrated a 4-0 win, a winner-take-all game, and, of course, outside Petco Park, Bedlam on the streets that night, and the clip that's been played for 5 years since. Every time the Padres do something good, people trying to troll us play that clip of everyone running in the streets that night.
That's kind of funny, though.
That is kind of funny.
It is kind of
and
funny.
it's
You
kind
can
of
laugh
funny
at
when
yourself.
the Padres fans have fun with it, too. Like, they're like, oh, like the Padres fans will get ahead of it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And they'll put it out now. They'll be like, oh, so-and-so just,
Like
whatever, got a hit.
When somebody in the
So,
slump,
yeah.
gets a hit or
Gets a
something like
hit,
that.
yeah.
It's fun to laugh at yourself sometimes.
It is.
It's like Ben and Woods were talking about that with the Spirit stores, and whoever loses tonight, you're going to see the meme of the Spirit store taking over the stadium name.
And that was
hilarious.
That is hilarious. They did that at the A's stadium when the A's played their last game. But in 2020 also was when like Will went out of the player tunnel garage. There was all these fans like waiting out there on his little scooter, and he high-fived everyone.
Yes, on the scooter. That's right.
And then I think he got like a little slap on the wrist for that. But it was hilarious. It was great. And then Will was the one also in 2022 that he and his wife Maggie went to all the bars or went to the bar Social Tap and
Buying
bought
people
everyone
drinks.
Yeah. So some good lore here that we're bringing up. Some good memories here that we're bringing up.
All right, we're gonna keep the vibes going in our next segment when we get to the 3rd winner-take-all game in Padres history, a trip back to Citi Field against the Mets, and the greatest night in Joe Musgrove's history. That is what's next on the Padres Deep Dive Hour. we're all just getting ready, trying to just get our minds right for a 5:08 first pitch and the fourth winner-take-all game in Padres history. That is this evening, and you'll hear it live on The Fan. Padres Deep Dive Hour continues. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com. Get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. It's Andy Elsten here with you. We got Dylan from Letters to AJ coming up in our next segment. Right now, we conclude on the Deep Dive Hour the trip through memory lane to the 3 previous winner-take-all moments in Padres history. The first 2 we gave you in our last segment, 1984, Padres 6-3 win over the Cubs in the NLCS. October 2nd, 2020, in a wild card game 3, Padres shut out the Cardinals 4-0. How about October 9th, 2022, Citi Field, National League wild card game 3.
Yep.
The Padres won game 1. They lost game 2, 7-3 to the Mets the night before to force the winner-take-all game. So, coming off of a loss, again, Padres fans that are, feeling that hypertension this morning. What game 1 of this little endeavor reminded you, if the team falls behind, the game's not over.
And what happened in the last game does not equal what is potentially going to happen tonight. It
Doesn't?
just doesn't. It's the postseason. It's all flushed. It's all reset.
Doesn't carry
It's
over.
all different. Yeah.
Doesn't carry over. Game 3. At that time, one of the most consequential games in the history of the San Diego Padres. A referendum on Preller's new vision and his new team. Of course, the Juan Soto trade. Would it all end just 3 games into the postseason? Those were the fears heading to Citi Field that night. Joe Musgrove against Chris Bassett. Top of the 2nd inning. Josh Bell leads off with a single for San Diego. Inning seemed to die off. Consecutive outs followed. Bell stuck at first base. But then, Ha-Sung Kim draws a walk. Trent Grisham, who of course had homered the previous 2 games off of Scherzer and DeGrom. Grisham follows with a walk, and the bases were loaded for Austin Nola.
0-2 again. Pitch to Nola is grounded through the left side and a base hit. Bell is on his way home. Kim is right behind him. A 2-run battle single for Austin Nola. And the Padres strike first 2-0 here in the 2nd inning.
Austin Nola, Trent Grisham.
What's our takeaway from that, Padres fans?
It could be anyone, guys. It could be anyone.
It could be anyone, even Austin Nola.
And literally, besides Fernando Tatis Jr., you're probably not looking at anyone having success throughout the entire postseason. It literally changes from series to series, game to game. Like some guys completely get shut down, some guys get hot, and then it can flip. So who knows who it could be tonight?
Someone could be hitting 180 or 200 or 227 on the team right now, get 3 hits, and it'll look like they've had a great postseason the whole season, postseason, because their average will inflate to 340 just like that. But it's all down to tonight.
And someone could have gone hitless. Donovan Solano could have 1 hit and then come in and be 3 for 4 today.
Exactly.
And Higashioka, look at him. I mean, 3 home runs already this postseason. So, yes.
Joe Musgrove, meanwhile, retires the first 12 Mets in order. His fastball playing up. His curveball spin rate shockingly high. His slider zipping past the zone, befuddling the Mets. But in the 5th inning, after San Diego had tacked on RBI single in the 4th from Trent Grisham, RBI single in the 5th, Manny Machado, 4-0 Padres lead. They're already into the Mets bullpen. David Peterson had come in relief of Bassett. In the bottom of the 5th, Musgrove allows his first base runner of the game. Pete Alonso gets a single. And 2 batters later, Mark Canha steps to the plate trying to change the game with 1 swing.
And now the pitch from Musgrove is hit in the air to right field, pretty well struck. Soto and Grisham both going back into the gap. Trent is on the run and he makes the catch. Slammed into the fence as he made the play. Alonso's got to hustle back to first base, and Trent Grisham does it again.
You just cannot say enough about the series this young man is putting together right now.
Trent Grisham does it again.
The Grisham series. Think about it.
That was the Grisham series.
That was the Grisham series.
It really was. So
it was the highlight of his Padres career.
Good for him. I mean, you look back at, I know he was a bit of a disappointment for his years in San Diego, but you can't take that away from him.
What followed next is an inextricable piece of Padres playoff lore forevermore, because in the 6th inning, after Musgrove got out of that jam, The inning began with a trip out of the dugout from Mets manager Buck Showalter, going to chat to the umpire, going to allege that Joe Musgrove was using some sort of foreign substance to spin the ball more than he humanly could. The umps came out. They checked Joe Musgrove's glove. They checked Joe Musgrove's hands and fingers.
And then
they famously checked the back of his ear, thinking that Joe had hid the sticky stuff behind his prodigious earlobe. Finding nothing, the umpires allowed Joe Musgrove to continue in the game. He got Eduardo Escobar to ground out to first. He struck out Tomas Nido. He got Brandon Nimmo on a fly ball to the warning track. And then as he headed to the dugout, he took a look at Buck Showalter in the dugout and gave him a little sniff with two fingers across the nose.
As Manny Machado walked behind him and had the biggest smirk on his face of just like, you just opened up the biggest can of worms you've ever seen, Buck Showalter, because Joe is just going to dominate now. And I think about Joe too. Talking to him after that whole thing, can you imagine being out there, your entire rhythm gets shaken up, you essentially are in front of national television, a clip that went viral it still goes viral whenever it's put out there, of people feeling you behind your ears and like the hotness that you would like, the anger, the like what's going on, but he channeled all of that and he calmed himself down and he went out there and he shoved.
And JP in the chat accurately noting that motion straight from Kenny Powers, eastbound and down. One more highlight from this one before we go to break, because Musgrove worked around a walk in the seventh inning to finish 7 one-hit innings of baseball. Top of the eighth, Padres with the coup de grace, a walk to Ha-Sung Kim, a Trent Grisham single, Austin Nola bunts the runners over, Jurickson Profar strikes out, and then Juan Soto, coup de grace.
Pitch to Soto, grounded through the left side. That's a base hit. Both runs going to come in and score. Kim is home. Here they come, and a 2-run single. Juan Soto delivers, and it's 6-0 San Diego in the eighth.
It was all downhill from there. Robert Suarez a perfect eighth. Josh Hader a perfect ninth. Sterling Marte grounds to third to end the wild card. 6-0 San Diego over New York.
These players were pretty good for the Padres. I'll refrain from saying. I think there's sometimes a recency bias with some of those players, and really they delivered in some big moments, especially in that postseason. But anyways, good for the Padres because that night ended in champagne and a celebration and advancement to the next round, and so did the 2 times prior to that. So perhaps that could be a good omen for tonight.
3 times in franchise history, the Padres have faced a winner-take-all game in the playoffs. 3 times in Padres history, 6-3, 4-0, 6-0. The Padres have advanced to their next round and defeated their opponent in front of them. Let that be the juju that keeps it rolling for the Friars going into tonight.
Yeah, you brought this segment in today, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun to look back at those moments, too, and I think so many people listening remember where they were or can visualize what it was like to see those plays happen, and it's a lot of fun to just kind of take a little trip down memory lane and kind of calm some of the nerves down, too. Hey, they've been in this position before, and even the guys that are on this team tonight have been in this position before as recently as 2022. So could be a good foundation for them.
Yeah, and they've come back from losses. They've come back from deficits.
Yeah.
All of these things, everything that's in our mind before the game will be expunged by the end of the game and replaced with a brand new story, a new tapestry to be woven in front of our eyes this evening on the loom of Major League Baseball's playoff greatness. And what happens? We'll all be there to listen to it, to watch it, and to experience it together. When we come back, Dylan from Letters to AJ joins us to keep the vibes right. It's Annie and Elsten. It is your pregame show before the Padres and the Dodgers at 5:08 tonight on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Don't forget to listen to Sam Levitt's podcast, Inside San Diego Baseball, where Sam covers everything going on with your Padres. You can find it at 973thefansd.com, the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome back, everybody. It's your Padres Deep Dive Hour. It's Annie and Elsten, and right now we welcome back to the show one of our regular contributors to this portion of the program. He writes the letters to AJ Substack, which has captivated the thoughts and minds of Padres fans over the last couple of years, one of the best analytical sites that you can find. Dylan is joining us. He had flown in to watch Game 4. So sorry, but welcome to the show nonetheless, my friend.
Hey, good morning.
It's great to have you here, buddy. Obviously, we're all just trying to keep our minds right and the vibes immaculate for 5:08 this evening. But how you feeling heading into this giant consequential game?
I think a little better having just sat down yesterday and relived that entire game from Wednesday, put it in the right context, and really, there's a very clear, factual case to be made that Padres have a good chance to win. And it took a while to just accept that, but once you get there, once you accept, they do have a good chance to win, that soothes the nerves, that soothes the anxiety. So I'd say I'm in a pretty good place now.
Well, what were your takeaways, Dylan, from the game on Wednesday? They lost 8-0. They obviously had that bullpen game. Did you think there was more of an anomaly happening in that game or something that could possibly carry over to today?
Well, I think we saw two very different strategies playing out in real time, and the manifestation of that was two very different versions of both teams, a different version than we can expect to see tonight. And I think that was largely dictated by the game script and the fact that the Padres were up 2-1 in the series, and they had another life to give after that game. So early on, Dylan Cease was pitching on 3 days rest. You never know which of these aces has that ability to still be that ace on short rest. Some over the years have had it, many have not, and it turned out Cease, he did not have it. So the Padres are down very early. And that set up an ideal strategy for both the Dodgers, but also potentially for the Padres to go in two different directions. You saw the Dodgers empty the tank to try to preserve that lead because it was do or die for them. Their bullpen threw every one of their high leverage arms, and they threw a ton of pitches. The Padres went a different direction. Their best relievers didn't throw a pitch all night. They were clearly keeping the powder dry for tonight. And that seems to be a deliberate decision, acknowledging that the game script was really not favorable very early on in that game. And you incur a big opportunity cost if you burn all your high leverage arms in that game and they're less effective or less available for an elimination game. So I wouldn't say that's a full-throated endorsement of that definitely being the right strategy for the Padres, but that's what we think we saw. We saw a team that understood there was a tomorrow, there was going to be another chance, and they kept some of the powder dry for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, really, you look at Estrada and Morejon, both of whom are throwing very, very well. And they did, they're kind of right your fourth and fifth guys in the bullpen right now in terms of the totem pole. So, yeah, they saw the middle innings when the game was still 5. And I remember being in the stands too, Dylan, kind of looking at it and saying the Padres are going to still kind of stay in this semi-in-it mode until they get through the next Machado at bat. And if they are still down, we're going to see exactly who we saw, right, toward the end of the game. And, when Wandy Peralta allows a homer at the end of a game and then Yuki gets to pitch, that is a method of preserving, as you said, preserving your top bullets for this evening's affair.
Yeah, most definitely. And, on the Dodgers side of things, it was the game was managed masterfully. That was one of the best managed games, that comes to mind. But there was certainly some degree of opportunity cost in managing the game that way, emptying the chamber, putting all your best arms out there. There's going to be some fatigue from that. And the Padres hitters got a really good look at every one of the best arms in the Dodgers bullpen. Some of them have had multiple looks at the same pitcher this series. There's very incremental but real bits of advantage that are changing hands there.
Any other pieces of advantage? Because I know you said the Padres had a good chance to win tonight. What are you looking at specifically that kind of leads you in that direction besides maybe the bullpen or the pitching staff that they saw?
I think one of the win conditions is going to be, the offense has to be there. There's a good chance it will be there, though. Padres offense has done quite well off of Dodgers starters. And if there's some early offense from the Padres, I think there's a very clear advantage that they have in the ability to lock down an early lead. And we know that, today, the elimination game, both teams are going to be taking that do-or-die strategy. So what I would expect is if there is some way that they can get to an early lead, they will absolutely empty the tank to preserve that lead. And that's a pretty strong win condition.
Dylan, are you surprised that the Dodgers announced Yamamoto as the starter for this game? I continue to push a public caveat that until we see the dude run out of the bullpen and take the mound, that L.A. could be playing, reindeer games just like they did before Game 4, saying that Freddie Freeman was going to start and then being like, we already knew all along he wasn't going to be there. So with that grain of salt still, stuck between cheek and gum, what are your thoughts on their choosing Yamamoto to actually open this game?
Well, if in fact, they're being earnest that that's their intention, the intention behind that is he's been quite a good pitcher, and even though he has not had the results against the Padres, they've really lit him up. They may think that there was something anomalous about the previous outings. On the whole, he was an effective pitcher over the course of the season. If they think they're going to get that version of him, then that may very well be truly their strategy they think gives them the best chance to win. I don't rule out gamesmanship, though. They've been very upfront that was absolutely part of their game plan on Wednesday to give some misdirection. So that would not surprise me at all if he isn't the arm that's trotting out of the bullpen to start the game.
Would you make any changes to the lineup? Would you make any big moves or moves that maybe we haven't seen to this point?
Very tempting to move Tatis to the top of the order and just ensure that your most talented and hottest hitter gets the most at-bats. And you always wonder about someone as prodigiously talented as Jackson Merrill, hitting fifth in the lineup. You wonder if you could get some increased productivity by maybe switching he and Profar in the order. What I can't say, and I think nobody outside the organization can say, is, what would the effects of those changes be? Would it be unsettling to the team chemistry? Is there some other reason that they think this is optimized for efficiency? So I think, left to me, I would consider those choices. But after a season like this, pretty comfortable just believing that the choice Mike Schultz is going to make is going to be very informed with very good reason and not simply inertia. That sounds like he's going with a similar lineup as he's been putting out all series.
We're talking to Dylan from the Letters to AJ Substack here on the Padres Deep Dive Hour. Of course, Padres and Dodgers in Game 5. When you talk about lineup configuration, the one other thing that I brought up and I wanted to run by you from yesterday was also mentioned by AJ Cassavell in his newsletter today, which is potentially trying to at least make it a little harder on Dave Roberts in terms of giving him obvious lanes to work with. David Peralta has hit really well for this team. He had the 2-run double in Game 3. He had 2 hits, ground ball hits, but still 2 hits off left-handed relievers in Game 4. But I feel like as the lineup is currently configured, Dylan, it would be safe to say that unless it's the first time through with Yamamoto really starting, that it's pretty unlikely that Jackson Merrill and David Peralta even see a right-handed pitcher in this game. Would you consider putting Solano in the lineup in place of Peralta simply to deflect the lefty-righty imbalance in the lineup?
Yeah, you have to consider things like that, things that are so far on the margins in these type of do-or-die elimination games. And if you get the sense that there's going to be a very short leash for Yamamoto, then you have to consider whether it's smart to optimize your starting lineup based on the assumption that he's going to go 5 innings when it's very unlikely that he will. So that seems to be a really hard question to answer because to some degree it means, trying to predict the future, which we really can't do. But the team always has more information about these things than any of us do. I would say if they think there's a good chance that Yamamoto's either not starting or starting as truly like an opener, and there's going to be lots of matchup-specific changes throughout the night, you have to consider mixing up the lineup more. And as you said, not give lanes for a lefty specialist to come in and just be very effective for a full inning.
Dylan, where are you watching the game tonight?
So I'm in Texas now. I'll be watching it from Dallas. We're going to the Red River rivalry game tomorrow.
Amazing.
But I'll be glued to my seat.
Can't wait, man. Tell everybody where they can read your work, here, which continues here through the postseason.
Yeah, so it's a Substack. It's Letters to AJ. That's Substack.com. That's letters to the number 2, AJ. That's Substack. We also put everything on Twitter and nowadays put it on Reddit for a little bit more availability.
Appreciate you, man. Enjoy the game tonight. Hopefully we have a series to talk about next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Godspeed.
Indeed. And go Padres, up the dads. There's Dylan from Letters to AJ. Really appreciate him. I think we're all kind of on the same page here. You know, there's certain tweaks you can make. I don't think, by the way, I'm not of the mindset that making a change is panicking, going from a game 4 to a game 5, because how many times do you make a change during the regular season? All the time, right?
I think you just have to make the right changes, and that's easier said than done. Like I actually think Dave Roberts said it well. I'm trying to think of what he said yesterday, but he essentially said you're betting on things. Like that's essentially what you do all season long, but you just have a longer runway to do it and more of a cushion. But you're essentially making bets that things are going to work out, or that you're hedging the right way, and that's kind of what you do. I don't think it has to be panicking. I think that there are panic decisions, and then there are, I'm making a bet, and I'm thinking that this is going to go our way.
Yeah. By the way, one way that someone panics is that they freeze. That panicking isn't always
not doing anything,
right.
Yeah.
Panicking isn't always melting down. Sometimes panicking is freezing in place.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that professionals in sports hide behind that is they say, stick with what got you here, stick with what got you here. But there's a fear in that as well, right? Which is that change leads to failure and continuity can only breed success. While there's truth to that on a broad basis, on an individual basis, making a little move, like I'm saying, flipping Solano back into the line. Oh no, he's 1 for 13. Well, what happens if he gets 2 more hits? All of a sudden, he's 3 for 15. What if he gets 3 hits? All of a sudden, he's hitting 250 for the year. So, any part of that is okay. If Mike Schilt makes a strategic decision to improve his team's win percentage, I'm all for it.
I have no issue with them putting Donovan Solano in the lineup today. I think Donovan Solano and both David Peralta, they're both great hitters, and one of them's going to come off the bench probably at some point. You're going to have another great hitter in the lineup.
Right.
So it's really going to be what their analytics and matchups and feel is going to tell them. But that's the thing. You got to know your players. You got to know your players and how they're going to react and what's their mindset going to be. You've got to, which every player is different. You've got to be able to make these holistically, because it won't just be Mike Schilt making some of these decisions. It'll be the front office as well for both teams, right? Too, like Dave Roberts might want to do something, but if Andrew Friedman's telling him no, we're doing this, like it's going to be that. There's such a, and then there's got to be feel, right? There's got to be like, what's the number telling? What are the numbers telling you, and what is your gut and your feel telling you? And you got to kind of figure out like, what are you listening to here, right?
Yeah. Nate in the chat brings up something I did here on Ben and Woods as well yesterday morning. And if they did this, I would I'd be like that Vince McMahon gif, like, oh, I can't believe, which would be throw a placeholder in the DH spot today. Like throw a literal placeholder. Start Michael King as your designated hitter for the game. Put him into the starting lineup. And then obviously the first time he's due up, pinch hit, and you get a guaranteed platoon advantage for that first designated hitter at bat, as opposed to giving it to Roberts and saying, all right, we're putting in Peralta. Here you go. You can put the left-hander in right here. Hey, if they did that.
That would certainly be gamesmanship if they did
I
that.
would love it. Are you kidding me? I would love it. Will it happen? It's not going to happen, but I would love it. 12 o'clock Sports Fix Weekend Preview Edition. It's up next. It's 12 o'clock. It's a Friday. We got the biggest game in Padres history coming up in 5 hours. What are you still doing at work? You know what to do.
There can't possibly be a lot of productivity today.
No, I agree.
Productivity through the floor.
Out the window.
Through the floor today, down into the basement.
I think seniors on their last week of school have more productivity than what most workers in San Diego have right now.
Why not just take a ditch day for the rest of your day, just like a senior would in his last week of high school?
Serious senioritis this week.
Join us here on Annie and Elsten for the rest of your pregame show. Before Gwen and Chris at 2, before the actual pregame show with Sammy at 4, live from Dodger Stadium, and of course at 5:08. Game 5, winner take all. Padres, LA Dodgers from Chavez Ravine on Fox this evening on 97.3 The Fan with the good announcers right here with Jesse and Tony. That's just one. It's the biggest. It's the single biggest one. But it's just one story amidst the stories in the world of sports today. Let's get you the rest of them on your Friday Fix. Here we go with all the news that's fit to speak for October 11th, 2024. Your San Diego 12 o'clock sports fix. Annie, what you got from baseball?
Well, 'tis the season for the parting of ways press release, a.k.a. firings. The Braves are making changes to their coaching staff, firing their hitting coach, assistant hitting coach, and catching coach. The Braves plan to hire 2 new hitting coaches this offseason. The Baltimore Orioles are the latest playoff team to fire coaches, with bench coach Freddie Gonzalez, hitting coach Ryan Fuller, and coach Jose Hernandez all out. Something. The Phillies have yet to determine the fate of manager Rob Thompson and their coaching staff, but the Orioles are already making changes. The Tampa Bay Rays said it may take weeks to fully assess how much damage was done to Tropicana Field, which saw its roof ripped to shreds by the force of Hurricane Milton as the deadly storm barreled across much of Florida. The team said no one was injured when the St. Petersburg ballpark was struck by the storm on Wednesday night. A handful of essential personnel were inside Tropicana Field as the roof panels were blown apart, but much of the debris fell on the field and seats below. Yeah, so we will see what ends up happening with the fallout from that. A little Padres news now. Padres third baseman Cale Fountain, one of the best names ever, recently had Tommy John surgery per Kylie McDaniel. He is expected to be swinging the bat again by spring training. Fountain is 19 years old. He was a 2024 fifth-round pick. He signed for $1.7 million. So getting that out of the way.
Also the worst wedding reception idea ever, the Cale Fountain.
You never want a Kale Fountain.
Kale Fountain.
Only a chocolate fountain.
It's so rough.
And I like kale, but
we flavor the kale with cacao.
Chocolate covered kale fountain.
I really want to ask him if his parents are vegan or something. You know,
right?
How did Kale Fountain come to be your name, buddy?
Kale Fountain.
We'll have time for that. Here's some broadcast news for tonight. Tom Verducci will join Ken Rosenthal as a sideline reporter.
I wonder which dugout he's going to be assigned.
Interesting.
I wonder which dugout he's going to get
now,
tonight.
The reasoning, this is what's being said from, what's his, oh, sorry. John Orand, who covers broadcasting. Fox decided to add a second reporter because it only has one NLDS Game 5. If Fox had 2 Game 5s tonight, it would have stayed with one reporter on each series. Now,
of course. What a...
I believe there was actually someone there on Wednesday in case the Padres won to do post-game interviews with the players. So,
yeah, Ken Rosenthal, you don't get to write a hit piece about the team and keep working now. I never like to get ahead of myself.
What happens if we win?
But if the Padres when the Padres advance, when the Padres advance,
Fox and that
it is.
broadcast
the
team?
National League Championship Series is on Fox
with the same broadcast
the
team.
The World Series is on Fox.
Oh, I thought it switches.
And
I just didn't know.
It'll be Davis, Smoltz, and Rosenthal the whole way.
This will get a little interesting then. If it advances, this is going to get a little interesting because I don't believe that the feeling went away the next day as was projected that it would.
That is their number one broadcast team for baseball for
Now,
Fox, and they have the rights to the next 2 rounds.
They could keep Verducci on the crew.
Possibly switch them.
Yeah, with just one crew. They could just go, 2 sideliners now.
Yeah. Well, but wouldn't they need to move Verducci back for the NLCS?
No, because there's only one National League Series now.
Oh, that's right. It goes NL and AL now. Right?
Yeah. So now this is probably what they're doing anyway. They're probably going to have 2 for the next round, and you might as well get Verducci out there early since he's going to be in Southern California this weekend, regardless of result.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, Ken.
Well, if you're Verducci, you're picking up some games, getting some more money, so...
Yeah. Oh, Ken.
The Padres will take on the Dodgers for an elimination game tonight. I don't know if you've heard. Game 5 of the NLDS. It'll be Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound for the Dodgers. Yu Darvish on the mound for San Diego. This will mark the first matchup of Japanese-born starting pitchers in MLB postseason history. First pitch, 5:08 p.m. in Los Angeles. And you can listen to all of that on 97.3 The Fan.
Here comes Braden with the American League story from yesterday, which was pretty darn dramatic.
American League scores yesterday. The Guardians, with the benefit of a squeeze play near the end of the game, end up beating the Detroit Tigers 5-4. A 5-3 lead going into the bottom half of the 9th inning. Tigers did get a run back, but it wasn't enough. And the Guardians even up the series at 2 apiece. They will play tomorrow, Game 5, as it got moved up due to weather issues. Yes. So that will be a 1:08 p.m. Eastern time start over there in Cleveland, Ohio. Tomorrow, Skubal versus Matthew Boyd.
What a game it'll be.
For Tigers, Guardians, Game 5 tomorrow morning out here on the West Coast.
That was I'm telling you, I know you guys probably didn't watch. That was a terrific game. I was watching it through the afternoon and then at the gym. Back and forth and back. Detroit answered back. Cleveland answered back. And then Detroit thought they were going to get it. But how about David Fry? 2-run pinch hit homer, and then he comes up the next time and then in the 8th, safety squeeze. And that winds up being the run.
Yeah.
That's the difference in the game.
New York Yankees get 2 games in Kansas City to advance to the American League Championship Series. Put up 1 run in the 1st, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. The Royals finally answered in the bottom half of the 6th inning, but that was all she wrote for the Kansas City Royals. A really remarkable season for Kansas City to make it this far into the divisional series. Yankees win the series 3-1 and await the winner of the Guardians and the Tigers in the American League Championship Series.
If you guys missed this one too, just to give the Royals their flowers, the moment of this game was the wind. Literally, it was the wind. The wind was blowing in at Kauffman Stadium.
Oh, really?
In right field. Mm-hmm. You know, they had actually a pretty cool graphic for it on TBS. It was like 9. It said it would like cut 9 feet off of fly balls going to right field. And in the 7th, Garrett Cole is being pushed. 3-1, 2 outs, runner on, and outfielder lefty Kyle Isbell at the plate. And Isbell thought for sure that he homered to tie the game.
Yeah.
It was high, deep, heading to the bullpen, and Soto caught it with his back on the wall. Back on the wall.
So do you think if the winds weren't there?
100% it's gone.
Wow.
An hour earlier, 100% it's gone. But it was the exact wrong moment for the Kansas City Royals, and that game-tying homer died.
You know what I was thinking yesterday, and this is totally what you obviously wouldn't want to happen because you want the Padres to advance and then go past the Mets. But there could be a Mets-Yankees World Series.
I know.
There could be a
Subway
Mets-Yankees
Series.
World Series. Has that?
Yes,
Yeah,
2000.
Subway
It
Series.
has. Yeah.
2000. Mike Hampton and friends, Mike Piazza.
Okay, well, the Padres were going to try to put a stop to that. So
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, back to you. Sorry about it.
Padres-Dodgers will play tonight. Yu Darvish versus Yamamoto.
Never heard about it.
5:08 p.m. Pacific time.
Seems
Back
like
to
a
Craig.
big deal. Seems like a big deal to me.
It's just another game.
It's true.
just
it is.
hey, if you ask Jackson Merrill, just another game.
Just another Friday.
I mean,
Dodger Stadium.
literally, it is a game.
Another game. That's how you got to treat it, kind of.
They've played 168 of them. Here comes number 169. Nice.
Do it again. Run it back.
With a win tonight, the Padres would even up the playoff series against the Dodgers all time, 6-6.
Hey,
Fun fact of the day.
That is fun. That is factual. The WNBA finals began last night, and if you happened to watch, you saw the most dramatic comeback in the history of the WNBA. The host New York Liberty, top seed in the playoffs, best record in the league, led by double digits right out of the chute. The Minnesota Lynx, second seed in the league, down by 15 points with under 5 minutes remaining. Back come the Lynx.
Oh.
In New York
Love
at Barclays Center.
Mm-hmm.
Get within 4. But they're still down 4. Then with 5.5 seconds left, Courtney Williams fires for 3. She's fouled and it goes. Hits the free throw for a 4-point play with 5 seconds left. Liberty can't score. They go to overtime. In overtime, New York takes the lead again. Back come the Lynx again. Nafisa Collins, turnaround jumper in the lane, 8.8 seconds remaining. Good. First lead of the game for the Minnesota Lynx. Breanna Stewart's layup attempt on the other end. It comes up short. And the Lynx are dancing the Liberty with their chins to their chest as Minnesota wins 95-93, stunning the WNBA, taking a 1-game-to-none lead, stealing home court away from New York and putting the Liberty's backs against the wall for Game 2, which is noon Sunday from the Barclays Center. Hey, I don't care whether you follow the sport or not. 15 points down with under 5 minutes to play, tie it on a 4-point play, score in overtime to win. Wow.
It's a thrilling comeback.
That's finals basketball. That's amazing. Great stuff. Game 2 coming up Sunday. 38-year-old tennis legend Rafael Nadal has announced he is retiring from the sport at the end of the season. Nadal will play in next month's Davis Cup finals, and that will be his final professional performance. Nadal, a 22-time Grand Slam tennis champion, including 14 wins at the French Open, where, without question, he was the most dominant player on clay in the history of the sport. Danny Green already has an Odyssey podcast. He can now focus on it full time. The 18-year NBA veteran, he's much more than 18 years old.
Cutting early there.
38-year-old, 18-year NBA veteran.
Looks a little old for you.
Yeah, he's much older
aging
than that.
very fast.
He's played 18 years in the NBA. He has now made his retirement official, but the Danny Green podcast can live on. The Lakers beat Milwaukee in preseason NBA action last night, 107-102. Rui Hachimura had 14 points to lead the team. Yesterday was the first nearly full slate of NHL action with 9 games, including the LA Kings beating the Buffalo Sabres 3-1. Anze Kopitar with a natural hat trick in that game. That means you score 3 goals, but all in a row. Also, the Hockey Club won. Utah on the road against the Islanders. Let's go club. Let's go club.
That's so lame. I'm rooting against them now for every game.
Boston, Toronto, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Minnesota, and St. Louis all scored victories as well. Only 4 games on the ice tonight, highlighted by St. Louis against Vegas. Anaheim hasn't even played yet. They will open their season tomorrow against San Jose. Lastly, San Diego Wave FC will host Houston Dash. If there's one organization in San Diego sports that will still put up the tweet that says "Go Padres" today, but maybe secretly in their back of their minds they're going like, we'll accept it either way, it would probably be the Wave, who have a home game scheduled for Sunday at 5:00 at Snapdragon Stadium, which would go 100% head-to-head with Game 1 of the NLCS.
But that's just a regular home game
I
for
know,
them.
it's just a regular home game. What would they care? It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Wave FC says, go Padres. They're 100% behind us. Wave hosts the Dash Sunday at 5 p.m.
Dash.
The Houston Dash. And while things are basically over in the NWSL for the Wave, unless a miracle happens, they're still wide open in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which they will play a game next week, not head-to-head against the Padres. Hopefully, because we want the Padres to go on. Back to Braden to set the stage for football to come.
High school football, college football, NFL football. A lot of great games coming up this weekend. We'll start in the high school football realm. Big win last night for University City. The Centurions beat Brawley 21-13 to improve to 7-0 on the season. With that, they bumped up to 17th in the county, according to CalPreps, and a big win over Brawley University City. If the season ended today, looking at a high seed in Division II, potentially knocking on the door of being a Division I school at the end of the year. Big games tonight out in the East County. It's a non-league game between Cathedral Catholic and Granite. Both teams are 5-1 coming into tonight. According to the San Diego Union Tribune poll, Cathedral knows number 2 in the county. Granite Hills is number 3 on calpreps.com. Cathedral is 2. Granite is 4. It doesn't matter. 2 top 5 teams in San Diego County battling it out in East County. CalPreps has the Dons by 1 point, so it should be a close one out there at Granite Hills. Torrey Pines at Mission Hills. This is a big game in the Avocado League. Both teams started off Avocado League play 1-0. Torrey Pines beat El Camino last week. Mission Hills knocked off Carlsbad. Winner of this game would be in the driver's seat to potentially winning the Avocado League. Mission Hills is favored by 14 according to CalPreps.com's predictions. Carlsbad at Poway. Carlsbad is projected to win by 11 points tonight at the Poway Titans. Another Avocado League matchup at 7 o'clock. Another big one in the East County as Mount Miguel, who is trying to climb their way as being one of the top programs in East County, will have to go through the Helix Highlanders tonight. It'll be the battle for the Claymore. These two schools, rivals from back in the day, have not played since 2015. Mount Miguel is expected to win by 16 points, according to CalPreps.com, as they come in at 5-1 and 11 in the county. Helix comes in at 22 in the county and 2-4, kind of struggling with their schedule, very difficult schedule at the beginning of the year. As I mentioned, the battle for the Claymore, these two teams have not played since 2015. Mount Miguel has not beat Helix since 2009.
Oh, wow.
It's been that long. And to think of even more, thanks to Partleton Sports and Rick Smith, who puts a great website together. You can check all the San Diego High School football history on partletonsports.com. Since 1987, Helix and Mount Miguel have played each other 28 times. Helix is 26-2 against the Matadors. So we'll see if the Matadors can get their first win since 2009 against Helix. Again, the two teams have not played since 2015. It's been a long time. We'll see if Mount Miguel can get the Claymore back. Up in the North County, LCC, who's currently the favorite in the Avocado League at 6-0, will take on El Camino, who's 4-2. Both teams are ranked in the top 10 in San Diego County. LCC trying to play their way into an open division playoff. That game will start at 7:15 tonight up in North County. In college football, following an unprecedented meeting between the SEC and the Big Ten on Thursday, the commissioners of both conferences addressed multiple weighty issues facing college athletics and strongly pushed back on recent pitches from private equity groups to help offset increased expenses that will result from NCAA's expected House settlement. It was an important united front for two of the most powerful college people in college sports, as any drastic changes that would include private equity are unlikely to garner national support without the backing of the SEC and the Big Ten. The notion that college football is broken, what we do is broken, is just not right, says the two commissioners that are in charge of everything and make all the money. Wonder why they are united and why they think everything is great.
It's all good.
As their paychecks are very high for all the big fan-based schools that they have in their conferences. What do you mean college football is broken? This is great for us. They'd be like the Yankees and the Dodgers making a pact to make the most money as possible. We're going to share a TV deal, and everybody else is going to be on their own. Take that for what it's worth.
Yes.
A lot of eyewash coming out of Nashville. College football games. There is a game tonight, Utah and Arizona State. Cam Rising, who's like 35 years old, will play against Arizona State tonight. No, he's not 35. He's definitely in his, I think he's like 24 or something. He's been in college for a long time. He finally gets to get a start for the Utah Utes. Other big games this weekend. Arizona at BYU. Florida is at Tennessee. South Carolina is at Alabama. Texas, Oklahoma. Penn State is at the Coliseum to take on the Trojans. Stanford and Notre Dame. Cal goes to Pitt. Ohio State goes to Autzen Stadium to take on Oregon. Ole Miss is in Baton Rouge to take on LSU. Kansas State at Colorado. And Iowa State and West Virginia, two teams at the top of the Big 12, will be in action on Saturday it's going to be a fun weekend in college football. In terms of the National Football League, Colts and Titans have some injury news. Will Levis will get the start for the Titans when they face the Colts on Sunday, according to head coach Brian Callahan. Remember, he's the guy that says, "What the blank are you doing?" He took every rep and made every throw in practice well. He had a shoulder injury, but it sounds like Will Levis is good to go. As for their opponents, the Colts are dealing with a mixed injury news regarding 3 of their most important offensive players heading into Sunday's game against the Titans. Anthony Richardson with an oblique is preparing to return to the lineup, while receiver Michael Pittman Jr. is surprisingly questionable, and running back Jonathan Taylor has been ruled out. So Richardson is in, Pittman is questionable, Taylor is out. Richardson, who missed last week's loss to the Jags, is on track to play after participating in the past 3 practices. That's the biggest injury news in the NFL. Those are the big college games in college football, and those are the games to watch tonight if you want a distraction from the Padres for high school football.
If you need to look away for a minute or two and
Yes.
come back to it later.
I'm sure most high schools tonight that host games will be giving score updates for you.
Like you'll hear like a random cheer in the crowd, and the teams will be like, "What
Yes.
happened?" And it's like nothing happened on the field. No, it's just.
So if you're going to go to a high school
Angeles.
game, you better watch it on your phone because the chances of you getting a spoiler are probably very high.
Right.
Yeah, I think the crowd Wi-Fi at these various high school stadia are going to be put to the ultimate test today as everyone tries to stream the game on their television.
Get the game day going.
Yeah,
or
on their
whatever
phone,
it is.
yeah.
You got to do this. I hope that, I think Granite Hills is doing it right. And if you're a team, you can maybe give score updates. Like, maybe
give the
flash
score
it up
updates.
somewhere, or the announcer can say it. I don't know how fancy some of these schools are, but yeah.
Most of those announcers will probably have the game on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Plus, I mean,
Tackle by
Padres
Manny
starts at
Machado.
5.
I mean, home run by
Yes.
calling 2 games at once.
And that's a Don's first down.
And that's a Padres first down, and the Dons hit a home run. Wait a minute. What's going on?
Backwards.
That'll do it for football.
Be good.
And your 12 o'clock sports fix for Friday, October 11th. When we come back, the onus tonight.
Hockey is here.
Hockey club.
Oh no, are we doing more hockey?
No, we're not.
Okay,
We're not doing more hockey.
We're not doing more hockey.
Can't be doing more hockey
more
right now.
hockey.
Annie's face looked just as concerned as the Halloween
I mean,
decoration
I'm
she
dead
saw
serious.
yesterday
She's
in her
like,
neighborhood.
no.
Okay, can I just say, can I get into the Halloween decorations I saw yesterday? Do we have
Yes.
time? Or?
Did anybody
let's
see
take
it
a break and
on
we'll do-
Annie's
we'll-
Instagram?
Yeah, you might
If
want to go
it's-
look at my Instagram stories
Go
if you haven't
look
seen it.
at Annie's Instagram
the third
story.
story, a little sus.
And
a
we're gonna
little
talk about
sus. And
that
I will
when we come
explain
back.
my Halloween Instagram stories.
Okay, when we return, Annie and Elsten on the Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans. Buffalo Wild Wings is kicking off football season with 2 limited-time sauces. Try their new Buffalo Bacon Sauce for bold notes of smoky bacon. Why can't I say that? Bold notes of smoky bacon. Or get the fan-favorite hot BBQ before it's gone. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go.
Smoky.
Smoky.
Turn your mic on.
Smoky bacon. Annie, you love to take a walk through the neighborhood. We all like to take a walk through the neighborhood.
I love to take little runs or walks through the neighborhood, and the best time to do that is during Halloween time and Christmas, holiday time, obviously, because you get to see all the decorations. And so I will typically pick a different locale every day. I will pick different streets every day because I like to see what's going on, right? What are the decorations? And I've seen a lot of Padres skeletons, a lot of Padres-related Halloween decor. The other day I saw Padres skeletons with T-shirts, Padres T-shirts over a Atlanta Braves graveyard, which I thought was
Brilliant,
right, exactly. So people have fun with it. It's great. So I'm going yesterday. I'm doing my thing. I'm sure there's lots of Ring cameras around San Diego that see me stop and take a picture. and I see my normal Padres-related skeletons. I see ghosts and goblins and this and that. It's great. And then I get to this driveway, and I'm looking at it, and I go,
hello.
Are these 2 inflatables doing the deed? Are they in a compromising position here?
Yeah.
Because it's like 2, what'd you call them? Like
skeleton
inflatables,
yeah.
and the one female one is straddling the other one, the other male one, and this is a very kids neighborhood, right?
Well,
so I'm like,
I assume kids are in the neighborhood.
there are many kids in the neighborhood. It's a very kid neighborhood where I was yesterday, and
is that a Kama Sutra position?
So then I just got sent a link from Katie on Twitter. Thanks, Katie. And this is a TMZ story. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis
Barker from
Travis
Blink.
Barker, they have the same inflatables in their front yard, and they're getting a lot of flack for it. Like, should you have these type of inflatables? Think about the kids. But I guess I thought that the owner of the house yesterday that I saw positioned them this way, but apparently you can just buy it.
It's just an inflatable.
Right, just like that.
Just
It's one
buy it
inflatable.
in this
it's
way.
one inflatable.
Yes, one inflatable comes with 2 people who are.
There's a connection between the 2
there's
people.
a very big
that
connection between these 2 people.
allows
These
them
inflatables.
to allows
FW.
the air to go from one to the other.
Yeah,
they are
so
connected.
it's really Halloween. Depending on where you're walking, like it's taking a turn, man. Like,
What spirit store are y'all going to?
I knew that skeletons and ghosts and goblins were a part of Halloween, but apparently cowgirls are too.
Yeah, cowgirls, yes, yeah.
Are also,
Bernie on the chat says it's $60 on Amazon, 4.6 stars, 200 bought in the past month. Well,
I'm sure that's the case.
look, you can get your own very very loving ghosts in
Well,
your front
how
yard.
about it reminded me I had to show Craig the
Very intimate ghosts.
the twerking zombie commercial from Snickers. This is pretty funny.
So we got twerking zombies, we got sexy skeletons.
And there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Just another day in the just another day in Alpine.
Actually, this one was in La Mesa. I was in La Mesa yesterday doing this, and
Is that Craig's house?
That was
That
not my
might have
house.
been Craig's
That was
house.
not
Craig's
my house. I
house.
promise
Right.
you, that's not my house.
Come on,
Right.
Craig.
James is putting up the decorations today, so
Well, you have a
maybe
teenager
this-
putting up
Maybe the sexy
putting
skeleton
up-
will come up today.
Yeah,
but-
you got a teenager
Maybe.
putting up decorations.
Yeah.
That's definitely Craig's house.
I mean, one of my favorite Fishbone songs is called "Bonin' in the Boneyard." Is that
they took that literally.
Yeah,
these,
quite-
These,
That's right.
These inflatables took that literally.
Another day in Fallbrook, Jocelyn.
Come on, Jocelyn. Come on. Okay. In times like this, men often think of baseball, and
Yep, that's what it is.
and forward we go. Some optimistic thought for the San Diego offense. First off, we just went through the history lesson of previous winner-take-all games. There's no reason to panic early in a game, whether you're ahead or you're behind in the game. But it is understandable. And yes, I experienced it myself over the course of the last 24 hours. To have a little bit of doubt, a little bit of fear, a little bit of dismay creep into your mind when you know that our club has been shut out for 15 straight innings by their club. And it's true. It's true. In that sample size, it's all LA. But what are the Padres' playoff scores this year? 4, 5, 5, 10, 6, 0. Which one of those is the outlier in the group of 6? Obviously, it's the 0. This team has been putting up the types of numbers which have led to this team winning all year long. Getting to 4 runs has led to this team winning all year long. They have the best record in baseball when they score 4 runs or more. Mm-hmm. So there's no getting around it, Annie. First inning is huge. Think about it. The visiting team has scored in the first inning every game in this series.
So this would mean for the Padres, especially going against a pitcher that they have gotten to every time they faced him in Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and have gotten too bad. I mean, 5 runs. They put up 13 runs already against Yoshinobu Yamamoto this season. This would be what you would think would be a good matchup for the Padres. It's kind of a befuddling matchup for the Dodgers. I also think for the Padres, they're a team that the dramatics have never hurt them, right? Like, they have the walk-offs, they have the big comebacks, they have the resiliency. So maybe, you have the 15 innings. Certainly they don't want that of no offense, but I would not put it past that team for San Diego. I'm talking about the San Diego Padres, to come out swinging and hitting and getting runs across the board early on in this game. And honestly, Craig, if you're going to go with the mentality, which why wouldn't you as a manager, that you have to throw in your very best arms, do or die situation whenever things start going wrong. If the Padres can get runs on the board early, they're in a good spot. I'm not saying you won't have to score for the rest of the game, but it's going to make it very difficult on these Dodgers.
Yeah. Now, I don't want the Padres to put too much pressure on themselves.
For sure.
Because, listen, they haven't scored in the last 2 first innings. They didn't score in the first inning in Game 3, and then they scored 6 in the second inning. They didn't score in the first inning of Game 4, and then they didn't score any. But it's not a prerequisite that we score in the first inning to win. It's not a prerequisite. However, of course, it would be awesome. So there's no getting around it. First inning's big. You don't want to be down after the first. You do want to be up, and if you're tied, it's okay.
And if you can early on, if at any point early on in the game, if early innings you can kind of get to somebody, that might be your best shot sometimes at getting to one of these pitchers.
The biggest thing I'm going to be watching in the first inning in regards to the Padres offense is their chase. Because Yoshinobu Yamamoto is not a pitcher yet in his career that has been dominating hitters in the zone by just overpowering them with his stuff just being unhittable in the zone. He gets people to chase his breaking pitches out of the zone. So can the Padres make him work?
Yes.
Because a pitcher like that who's going to throw chase pitches, what are those if you take them? Ball.
They're balls.
Ball
right.
1, ball 2, ball 3, full count, ball
Walk,
4,
walk.
get to first. If you can literally get Yamamoto to 20 pitches in the first inning, they're going to get the bullpen up. They will. They're going to get the bullpen up. And I do believe that at the first blink of trouble, they will bring in either Banda or Vesia, one of the 2 big left-handers, out of their bullpen to try and turn this offense to the other side.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the thing. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he will dance around that zone. And he's, like I said, he's had really good starts this year, not against the Padres, but against other teams. However, since he's come back from this injury and since he's not been quite as stretched out as they wanted, what is he going to do in these first few innings or the first inning that he pitches there, and how is he going to show up? And will he get spooked a little by the fact that when the Padres are on, they won't chase? I mean, the Padres are a really good team in terms of taking their walks when they need to, right? Or finding pitches they can hit and death by singles, or moving the runner base to base, creating a little havoc on the base pass. And I don't know that Yoshinobu Yamamoto has the mental fortitude quite yet, and I'm not saying he will never have it, but quite yet in the big leagues to to not get a little worried in the back of his mind about what's coming next. Especially, look, if you can get Luis Ariz, Fernando Tatis Jr. doing a little something, well, then you got Manny Machado. You got, the lineup goes on and it doesn't get any easier. So the other thing is if they end up bringing in their bullpen early for the Dodgers, I'm not convinced that these guys will all be on their game this time around. I'm not convinced that they will all come out of that bullpen, be able to execute. Now, they're all good pitchers for sure, but you got to be dependent on a lot of arms to get you to go to the distance if the Padres score early on in this game.
Annie, it's a great point. And behind you right now is the replay of the game I watched yesterday that we were talking about last segment, the Cleveland-Detroit game. Mm-hmm. And both Cleveland and Detroit are two teams that have the two best bullpens in the American League, number 1 and number 2. And they rely on their bullpen extensively. And it was very interesting watching their game 4 because the announcers were all over it on TBS in terms of like Cade Smith comes in for Cleveland. Well, that's the 4th game in 4 that he's been in the game. Their lefty Tim Herron came in. It was the 4th game in 4 that he came into the game. And for Detroit as well, like their relievers have pitched in every game. Yeah. And whereas those guys were completely nails the first 3 games of the series, in game 4, both teams' relievers gave ground. Yeah. Both teams' relievers surrendered the lead at one point in the game. And even the great Emmanuel Clase, by numbers the best reliever in the history of baseball, even Clase gave up another run last night. Now, he won and got the save, but that's because Cleveland tacked on an insurance run in the 8th inning. Otherwise, he would have blown the save in Detroit. So the point Annie's making that I'm reinforcing here is that, yes, you've seen the Dodgers bullpen be dominant. However, the Padres have seen it too. And that doesn't mean they're intimidated. It means they're learning. Like every time that they see Kopech, there's a better chance the next time that they get to Kopech. And the same with Banda, and the same with Vesia, and the same with Brazier and Trinan and Hudson and the rest of these cats that they're going to roll out of the pen. The Padres will be seeing all of them for the 3rd or 4th time in the series.
Exactly, yeah. And there is a wear and tear factor. Even though they had the off day yesterday, when you get as much work as some of these guys have been getting over the last week, and then on top of a long season, there's just times that your arm's not going to have it, right? Like there's just times that your arm's going to be fatiguing a little or wearing down. And these have been really intense games. These have been intense. When you look at those pitchers that the Dodgers pulled out to trot it out of there on Wednesday, those guys, that was intense for them. I mean, those guys had to hit their spots, be exact, and they executed to perfection, really. But I'm not saying, can they do it again? Yes, but is there a chance for perhaps some of their stuff to be off, or a pitch to be left hanging a little bit, or guys to not be able to find the zone as best well as they did the other night? Absolutely. And you get a few walks on, or you get a guy that's just a little bit knocked out of his element. Yeah, Dave Roberts is going to go to the next guy quick, but you still have to have the 3-batter minimum. The other thing is Yu Darvish, right? Like you want Yu Darvish in this situation, especially after what he was able to do to the Dodgers the other day. And if the Dodgers can't get any offense going early, that's going to be also a very difficult mental part for them. Like, how do we get to this guy? How do we drive him out of the game? And when Yu Darvish is on, he's going to be in control the whole time.
Let's take a timeout. When we come back, a silly game to take everyone's mind off everything for a couple of minutes. Why not? Why not, indeed. And we've got something to give away, a pair of tickets to see Sublime with Rome at Gallagher Square on November 23rd. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Today's silly game, the wheel spins and lands on Anybody Knows, the game of ridiculously easy trivia. So because we've got concert tickets to give away, we need 2 contestants. One to take on Annie head-to-head. The other to be Annie's avatar, to be her squire, waiting with flag in hand, hoping to be given the tickets if Annie prevails. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. We'll screen both of y'all up and come back to play Anybody Knows next. Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. will. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to play Anybody Knows, today's silly game. This is the game of ridiculously easy trivia, where you will be given 10 very straightforward, almost deceptively simple questions. Annie will get the same 10 questions. If you can tie or beat Annie, you are the winner. If Annie wins, our other caller is the winner. We have screened a contestant and then used the little dice in here to randomly select our avatar. Who is playing the game today, Braden?
Playing today out of Mission Valley, Emilio. What's going on?
Hi, Emilio. Welcome to the game.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
It's great to have you here, mate. Before we play, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, native San Diegan. I'm honestly a nervous wreck before tonight's game.
You and me both. You and me both. I get it.
Hopefully we can lock it up. My birthday is on Monday, so hopefully we're playing Game 2 of the NLCS on Monday.
Absolutely, and hopefully we can get you an early birthday present here with a couple of tickets to see Sublime with Rome at Gallagher Square on November 23rd. However, if Annie does prevail, we had callers on the line holding to see if they would be the lucky avatar. Our dice landed on 3, and Jocelyn in Oceanside is today's avatar playing behind Annie. Jocelyn, are you ready to bear her standard and be the number one flag waver for Annie Heilbrunn?
Oh, you know it. All the time, every day, all day.
I thought so as well. So it's either going to be Emilio or Jocelyn getting the tickets today. Everyone else on hold, chill out and enjoy the game. Emilio, here's what's going to happen. Annie's already left the studio. Braden is standing by with your 10 questions. You're going to have 60 seconds to answer them, and I'm going to grab the whiteboard to keep score. Good luck, Emilio.
All right, 1 minute on the clock. Emilio, ask you 10 questions. If any of them stump you and you want to go back, if we do have time, you can say pass, and we'll go back and try to answer one of those questions. Let's start with question number 1. Clock will start as I ask you question number 1. If a sleeping person is sawing logs, what are they doing?
Yawning.
No, that would be snoring.
That would be snoring loudly. What does BC stand for in relation to the calendar?
Before Christ.
Before Christ is correct. The mammary gland of a female cow, sheep, or goat for milking.
Pass.
Pass it is.
Tears are falling from your eyes because you're doing this.
Crying.
Crying is correct.
Yes.
The place in the engine that stores fuel.
The gas tank.
Gas tank is correct. A swap of ideas or a trade of things of equal value is called a what?
A proposition.
We're looking for exchange.
Exchange. Okay, I was wondering about that one.
What is the general name for a local place where people shop?
A mall.
Think more basic.
The store.
Store.
Yeah,
This
store.
cream pie named for a city in Massachusetts is actually a 2-layer chocolate-covered cake filled with custard.
Pass.
What do you call a citizen from Yemen?
Pass.
An area in the yard for cultivating your homegrown tomatoes.
A garden.
Garden is correct. Real quick, I'll ask you the questions again. The mammary gland of a female cow, sheep, or a goat for milking. Need an answer.
Nipple.
Udder.
Looking for udder. The other one that you passed on was this cream pie named for a city in Massachusetts is actually a 2-layer chocolate-covered cake filled with custard. Need an answer.
Time on the collar.
Boston cream pie.
Boston cream pie.
Boston cream pie.
A citizen from Yemen is a Yemenite.
Yeah, Yemenite?
Yes.
I was going to say Yemeni. So I would have
See,
got that one wrong as well.
Know. This
2,
is one of the
3,
more
4.
difficult ones.
It really is. 5 is your score, Emilio. Here comes Annie. Jocelyn right now is just chomping at the bit, thinking that she's got this one unlocked, but let's find out.
Hi, Greg.
As the person who is the namesake of the game, returns to the studio. Here is Annie to play Anybody Knows. Annie, Emilio is your opponent. His score is locked.
Okay,
and
Emilio.
Braden's got 10 questions for you starting right now.
If a sleeping person is sawing logs, what are they doing?
Sawing logs?
Yes.
Snoring?
Yeah.
Snoring.
Okay.
Snoring loudly. Snoring is correct. What does BC stand for in relation to the calendar?
Before Christ.
Before Christ is correct. The mammary gland of a female cow, sheep, or goat for milking. No, it's not Mr. Cow.
The memory gland?
The
Mammary
The
gland.
mammary gland. For milking? Like when you're like,
cows,
Yeah,
sheep,
what's that called?
The udder.
goats. Udder is correct.
Utterly ridiculous.
Tears are falling from your eyes because you're doing this.
Crying.
Crying is
So
correct.
sad.
The place in the engine that stores fuel is called a
Stores fuel? A gas tank?
gas tank
it's a
is
gas
correct.
tank. Yeah.
A swap of ideas or trade of things of equal value is a
A swap of
an?
idea or trade?
is in
A trade. A
Let's not trade
barter?
because that's in the word. Yeah. See, I would have guessed barter
A
too.
barter?
The answer is exchange.
exchange is what we were
Exchange.
looking for.
Oh.
What is the general name for a local place where people shop? Think basic.
Think basic. Hot Topic. No, I'm just kidding. The store. The store.
A store is correct. This cream pie, named for a city in Massachusetts, is actually a 2-layered chocolate-covered cake filled with custard.
A city in Massachusetts is Boston cream pie.
Boston
Okay.
cream
Correct,
pie.
You almost had me with that one.
Got
What do you
you.
call a citizen from Yemen?
A citizen from Yemen?
Yes, like the country.
A Yemenite? A
Yemenite
Yemenese?
is
Yemenite is
correct.
correct.
An area in the yard for cultivating
for
your
10 for 10. Let's go.
homegrown tomatoes.
A garden?
Garden is correct! Wow.
Annie's first ever 10 for 10. Beautifully done,
I
Annie.
didn't think Yemenite was right. Yemenite's right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
I
right.
didn't think it was. I didn't.
I would have got that one wrong. I would have
would've
said
got
a
that wrong, too.
Yemeni. But
Yemenite.
Yemenite. A Yemenite. And that means Jocelyn is going to see Sublime with Rome at Gallagher Square November 23rd.
Oh, congrats, Jocelyn. And who did I play against?
Emilio. Sorry, Emilio.
Call back. Believe me. You got a
Yes.
great chance of winning next time.
Not when Annie goes a perfect 10 for 10. Oh, wow.
Maybe that's a good Friday, omen. Maybe that's a good,
Let's
I'm
go.
locked in. I'm locked in, guys.
She's locked in.
Yes.
Padres are locked in. Annie's locked in. Jocelyn's locked in to go see Sublime. Emilio, we love you. Appreciate you. Back with hour number 4. Hit reset. Getting your vibes right for 5:08 next. Here we go. Final hour of the program of your pre-game show. Before Gwen and Chris at 2, before Sammy Levitt at 4, and before the Padres and the Dodgers from Dodger Stadium. 1 game left. Winner take all. This is it. The countdown continues. 4 hours and 6 minutes until we can put everything pregame behind and get to the game and just get to whatever ritual you might have, whether it's sitting in the exact same spot in your living room, whether it's going to your favorite watering hole, whether it's locking yourself in your office and turning off all the lights and hiding in the corner.
I mean, we got to get into this. You have been known already to hide in the closet during big games in the regular season. What are you doing?
You were doing that for the Padres-Dodgers games this year.
It was, point of fact, Game 2 of the Division Series in 2022 that I don't even remember where I started watching the game, but the last at least 3 innings of the game, I did go into the office. I didn't go in the closet, but I went in the office with the lights off, and I watched. Really, the bottom line for me is I just can't be at home for a playoff game.
So what are you going to do?
I'll be at Bottle Rocket.
Oh, okay.
I'll go back to Bottle Rocket.
You already have your plan.
Yeah,
yes.
I've already got my plan. I'll be in the back room at Bottle Rocket, able to bounce off the walls. You know, I don't literally bounce off the walls, but I do. As we talked about yesterday on the roundtable, I pace during the game. I will probably get 8,000 steps in during the game, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It's so funny. I like to be just, if I'm not at the game, I just like to be alone.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I miss stuff otherwise, you know?
Sure.
But it's the kind of game today that it really doesn't matter. Whatever, if the Padres win, you're going to go back and watch the highlights over and over. They're going to be replayed over and over. If the Padres lose, you're just going to try to not watch any of it anymore.
Right.
So
right.
You don't really need to be super locked in because the result is going to be what matters the most.
The result is going to be what matters the most. And again, we can stare at this with clear eyes and full hearts. We better not. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Padres are playing one of the most consequential games in franchise history. Arguably the most consequential game of the 21st century of Padres baseball. It's not just a winner-take-all game. It's Padres-Dodgers. It's a chance to host the NLCS starting Sunday. Home field advantage in the NLCS. That's right there. It's right there, waiting to be taken. One of these teams is going to host that game Sunday on Fox. One of these teams. Let it be the San Diego Padres. And don't forget, no matter how this game starts, hopefully it starts 3-0 San Diego, just like it did back in Game 1. Right? When Yamamoto was on the mound. Hopefully it is that. But even if the Padres fall behind early in the game, we brought you the history of this team in winner-take-all games. Padres were down 3-0 going to the 6th inning in 1984, being shut out by the Cy Young Award winner on their home field. Like, anything is possible in these games.
And the thing is, too, like, this could be one of those back-and-forth games, or it could be the pitching is so good on both sides, but I still think the edge goes to the Padres on the pitching side. However, look, who's to say that someone doesn't lose their touch in the late innings and maybe, be able to come back or change scores, or you're never going to be out of it. In a game like this, there will not be any hanging of your heads and thinking, okay, well, we'll get him tomorrow. Because there's no tomorrow if you're not winning, right? So this is going to be a game that is fought like tooth and nail till the very end. Unless there's a possibility of like a 10-0 lead by one team in the 7th or 8th inning, right? Or something like that. But even then, I think you're still going to see competitive at-bats and a focused team. So you're going to want to just claw tooth and nail in this one until the very end.
Absolutely right. My beloved wife, Mitzi, is in the chat. And just to make sure that I'm very clear about this, the reason I don't watch games at home is because I don't need to subject them to my energy. And it's not that I'm like negative or screaming or ranting, but I am absolutely 100% anxious about this game. I'm going to have nervous energy. I'm going to need to walk it off. And I can't pace my house because, Mitzi and James aren't going to be locked in on the game. the way that I'm locked in on the game, and that's no fault of theirs. I got to be in my own.
Letting them enjoy their time at home.
That's right. I got to be in my headspace. I got to be in my headspace. And it's weird because I get it, Annie. Like, for some people in a big game, they can't be around anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got to be
That's how I am.
I got to be all the way one way or the other. Like, either I will be completely by myself or I like to be with others. Like, be con la gente, be with the group, with the people, and then we are all celebrating together. We're all fist bumping after every out, high-fiving after every run, the whole thing. Like, I appreciate that because then we are sharing communal energy. All of our vibes are on the same level. All of our energy is at the same level. And when you have that, then I think you really feel like you're in it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's whatever floats your boat, right? And there's no right or wrong way to do it. I think Gallagher Square, are they doing that again at Gallagher Square, the watch party? Okay, I saw the images from the last time. It was packed. So I imagine, just like you talked about, there's going to be communal energy down there as well, fans watching the game together and whatnot. So, hey, whatever floats your boat, is what you got to do and enjoy it. Hopefully it's, something that you get to enjoy a little. I know people are pretty anxious right now, but hopefully you get to actually have a little fun, enjoy it a little.
If we win, we're all going to enjoy it a lot.
Yes.
It's just the nature of this. It's just the nature of it. Two things, we were talking about the offense last hour. Two things stand out to me. One is obvious. You want your superstars to be superstars tonight. It would be beautiful if that were the case. However, when you go through the history of winner-take-all games in Major League Baseball, it's much more often that it's not the superstar player who leads their team to victory in the big game. It's quite often the catcher. It's quite often the 8-hitter. Quite often it's a play out of nowhere or someone off of the bench. It's always that way. We went through these great games, winner-take-all games in Padres history, and Austin Nola, Trent Grisham, right? Tim Flannery. Like, these are the guys who have shown up in these gigantic games. Yeah, Tony Gwynn had a huge hit in Game 5 of the 1984 National League Championship Series, but the biggest play was Flannery's ground ball that went under Leon Durham's glove.
And sometimes, too, it's the pitcher, the attention going to the top of the lineup and going to some of these guys and not saying that they're taking a break. I don't think that either team is taking a break on any hitter in the lineup, but no one's perfect, right? And sometimes you're able to take advantage of a vulnerability if you're a hitter on someone when you get more toward the bottom of the lineup or more toward guys that maybe aren't the Machados or the Xander Bogaerts or the Tatises. However, look, Tatis has an OPS over 1,000 in the postseason right now. There are some guys you just can't keep down. And this will also be for Shohei Ohtani. You saw Yu Darvish 3 times the last time you faced him.
Right.
And is there anything, the great thing about Yu Darvish is he adapts to what the hitter is showing him. And he has so many pitches and so many variations of pitches. That is why he's the guy that I believe you would want on the mound today, because he can change his approach when he needs to. And he can see what the hitter's trying to do, right? But you also got to think, right? These guys have seen him. Maybe they're coming in with a certain game plan. But I think Yu Darvish is going to be ready. He's always crafty, and he's always got something up his sleeve.
That's funny. Mitzi's in the chat saying he needs to clean the house like Ello.
I thought that was funny when he said that yesterday, that his house is spick and span after a big game, a nervous game.
No, it's true. But I mean, she would also admit that on the days that they're not there, they'll usually come back when a game like this and find that every single piece of clothing has been folded. It is. You want to have something, whether it's a stress eating, whether it's having a piece of gum that you're chewing, whether it's pacing around, whether it's habitually folding clothes or mopping your kitchen or whatever, any way that it takes for you to regulate your mind, regulate your heart, your heart rate, your emotions during this game. All of that is totally cool because we are all experiencing something extremely stressful together, and it can turn to elation. Obviously, it can go the other way, but the middle part of it is that heightened state, right? Where you're just in that heightened state, just almost vibrating, waiting for the next pitch.
And I see a lot of people in the chat pointing out Jacob Cronenworth. And look, we did that going down memory lane
Yes.
in the 11 a.m. hour. And Jacob Cronenworth had a big hit in the 2020 series.
Yes.
Of course, the slaying of the Dodgers, the slaying of the Dragon in the 2022 series. And those were both elimination games. Well, no, sorry. The 2022 was more of a...
It was a closeout game. It was a closeout game, yeah.
But so, hey... Could be Jacob Cronenworth tonight having a big hit and channeling that part of him again.
If you missed it, the Dodgers played coy until the end of the workouts and the end of their interviews yesterday, and then announced on Twitter that Yoshinobu Yamamoto would be the starting pitcher. Now, we haven't received lineups yet for either team. This is about the time I should start habitually refreshing
I believe
Twitter.
Also they've decided, I think Dave said yesterday, so Rojas is out, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I think Tommy Edman is at shortstop. Freddie Freeman, they expected to go today as of yesterday.
Well, that's what they said before, too.
Yes, it's true. So
we've got the lineup for the Dodgers.
Oh, we do? Oh.
LA has released their lineup, and indeed Yamamoto is the starting pitcher. So no gamesmanship there. Here we go. It's Ohtani at DH. It's Betts in right. It's Freeman at first. So, yes, he's in the lineup. It's Teoscar in left field. It's Muncy at third. It's Smith at catcher. Lux at second base. Kike Hernandez in center field. That's the Rojas effect, because then it's Edman at short batting ninth.
And Dave Roberts said something about him yesterday. He's like, Kike gets up in the big moments in playoff games, and he's told me that. So he's like, I have a player that tells me he likes to play in playoff games because he gets a little bit more juice going or whatever, right? So essentially, I'm paraphrasing there. But can he be a difference maker, though? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, he's in the lineup, hitting eighth. They've got lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty.
Yeah,
so
all the way down.
Yeah, so they are not creating any lanes for Mike Schilt. But I will say once again what I've said all the way through. You want to shut down the LA offense. The way to do that is now Smith, Lux, Hernandez, Edman. Those four guys. If those four guys get on base 2 or 1 or 0 times in the game, the four of them combined, Padres are in great shape, because that means when it rolls back to Ohtani at the top, he's just a man. He's just one guy standing up there by himself.
And you look, I mean, yeah, you would love for him not to hit like a solo home run, because in a game like this, it could be a difference maker. But way better for a pitcher. Any pitcher will tell you, you give up the solo home run, okay, no problem, fine, we keep it moving. Because any of those Padres hitters can do the same thing or get a run across the board. You don't want to give up the 3-run. You don't want to give up the grand slam. You don't want to give any of that up. So absolutely, limiting the bottom of the lineup is huge for the Dodgers. For the Padres, sorry.
It could be a very tiny thing.
Yeah.
But you never know what tiny thing comes up in a deciding game. Kike Hernandez is not a traditional center fielder.
No. That's another thing. Look, their defense, they do the setup, what am I thinking? What's the word I'm thinking of?
Positioning?
The positioning.
Yeah.
They definitely are looking at analytics for that and positioning themselves and using that to their advantage, or trying to anyways. But I haven't seen their defense a lot of times doesn't look super crisp to me, and then you got a guy out there that isn't your typical center fielder, or, could be a ball that goes over your head, or a ball that someone dives for and gets past him. I mean, how many times have we seen that with the Padres? That ends up being a game-deciding run.
Yes, absolutely. Padres lineup, when it comes out, we will bring it to you. We anticipate it'll come out before the end of the show. Pretty traditional that it comes out around 3.5 hours before the game. So it's probably coming after this commercial timeout. When we come back, if that lineup's here, we'll give it to you. Also, once again, something to cleanse the palate, get your mind off things for just a minute, and get ready for it tomorrow, when there won't be a Padres baseball game, guaranteed, no matter what. There will not be a Padres baseball game tomorrow. So maybe you'll want something to watch on TV. Media Melanie is along with a spooky recommendation for you in our Crossing Stream segment. That is coming up next. Annie and Elsten until 2 on The Fan. It ain't over. It's not going to be over. There's more to be done. Tonight's game is a moment in time. Tonight's game is a moment for greatness.
I think Tom is singing right now to the Dodgers.
There it is. I like it.
I don't think he's singing us. I think he's singing the Dodgers.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that interpretation.
I mean, you got to look at a glass half full there, you know?
Yes.
Are you doing your own sing-along over there?
The shiny moment. Like
one shining moment.
No. I'm thinking of like the one moment in time.
Oh, yeah.
To be.
This has been
Whitney
karaoke
Houston.
with Fanny and Elsten.
That's right. I'm all for it if we win the title. We can have a whole show of karaoke for all I care. That'll be completely fine. We could do it. We could do 4 hours of drunken celebration. I mean, I'm all for it.
What's funny, we made the promo during the break for Monday. We literally have no idea what's going on Monday because.
You know what my promo was for Monday, Annie?
Yes.
I'm recording this on Friday for a show on Monday. You know what kind of show we're going to do, but we don't.
We currently do not.
You can't
true.
be like, we'll break down whatever. We'll get you ready for whatever, because who knows,
If
right?
the Padres lose tonight, Monday's a sad day, right? But if they win tonight, they'll play a game, and plus our show would be shortened on Monday.
If they win tonight, it's workout day tomorrow, and then it's a game. They play the Mets at Petco Park on Sunday at 5 p.m.
Yes.
And again on Monday.
Yeah.
At 1, in which we would have a shortened show.
I mean, how much things could change in the span of 72 hours?
Seriously, we don't even know how long our show is going to be.
No clue.
On Monday.
Know nothing. We know nothing.
You know nothing and you will like it.
I say nothing. I wait to die. All right, here's Media Melanie joining us as she does every Friday for our Crossing Streams segment. Media Melanie comes along with a television streaming recommendation for you for the weekend to come, and I've got one for you this week as well. Melanie, welcome to the show. How you feeling? How you coping? I know you're getting ready for the game just like the rest of us.
Oh, Craig, I can't focus on anything. I'm nervous. I'm rewashing the shirt I wore to the games I've attended where they won. Just so many things. And, hopefully we're all going to be feeling really great later this evening.
That's it. That's all we can do is just wait to get there and to do these shows in between. But Melanie, I know you're a huge fan of the horror genre, of the spooky month of October. Your last recommendation a couple of weeks ago was literally called Grotesquerie. So what do you got for us this time around?
Well, first of all, Grotesquerie has gone a little off the rails. So for anyone watching, you'll know what I mean. But wow, what a crazy show that is. But Craig, there are a few shows I'm enjoying right now. I did have a tough time narrowing it down for today, but I landed on Teacup, which is a new horror thriller series streaming on Peacock. And this one is executive produced by James Wan, who's known for the Saw, Insidious, and Conjuring franchises. And it was adapted by Ian McCullough from Yellowstone. And it's based on the book Stinger by Robert McCammon, which I have not read and know nothing about, so I'm not spoiling this show for me at all. And the story follows a group of neighbors in rural Georgia who are faced with a mysterious and evil threat. It stars Yvonne Strahovski, who I love from both The Handmaid's Tale and Dexter, Scott Speedman from Animal Kingdom and Grey's Anatomy, and Luciano LaRue also plays a part. He's, of course, from Yellow Jackets, and I recently had the chance to interview him in my Yellow Jackets Hive podcast. He's a really great young man. And in these first 2 episodes, we meet all the key players who are culminating on the Chenoweth farm when strange things start happening. There are animals who are completely freaking out, strange electrical disturbances, a potentially large and rabid dog roaming about in the woods, and we see a woman running through the woods trying to free herself from zip-tied hands, and she's uttering the term murder maker over and over.
Murder maker.
She's got blood all over
Murder
her.
maker.
Very creepy. Very creepy. Yes, you did that perfectly, Craig.
Okay.
We see Arlo, who is the son of Maggie and James Chenoweth, played by Yvonne and Scott. He wanders into the woods chasing a goat, encounters this mystery woman, emerges later, seemingly possessed, repeating strange phrases, including run and hide and this murder maker again. Eventually, we meet this creepy man wearing a gas mask. He is painting a blue line on the ground, some sort of boundary, urging the group of people not to cross it. And when somebody does, let's just say good things do not happen. Overall, I really enjoyed this dark and atmospheric vibe. It is very horror, familiar cast who's great, and it's really doing a good job of building this mystery that's drawn me right in these first two. What's this mysterious situation? I don't know. We'll have to keep watching to find out. I think one of the best parts about this, Craig, is that the episodes are only 30 minutes each, and a pair of them are dropping weekly on Peacock. There are 8 in total, and it makes for an easy watch. Again, perfect for spooky season, and 30-minute episodes. So you really can't go wrong with this one if you are into the genre.
All right, say the name again, because a couple people were asking in the middle of the chat.
Teacup. It is called Teacup, and it is streaming on Peacock. Yes.
Teacup on Peacock.
Teacup. Yes.
Don't get those mixed up. It's two completely different things if you do. It's Teacup on Peacock. Okay, that is a great recommendation, Media Melanie, and we'll be checking that out. I've got one for you and for the audience as well. Last weekend, 2 weekends ago, actually, 2 weekends ago, because you and I didn't do a segment last Friday. 2 weekends ago, I opened up Netflix for what felt like the first time in months, because it was the first time in months. I thought about, do I need to cancel this subscription? I haven't opened this in 3 or 4 months. That's like $60, $70, $80 down the drain. And then I saw Mr. McMahon, the 6-part documentary executive produced by Bill Simmons that is available on Netflix. And I had seen a couple of people just mention it. I didn't grow up a wrestling fan. I kind of grew up the opposite of that. One of my best friends was a huge wrestling fan. I always had that kind of like thin connection to the universe, but I did not grow up watching WWF, WCW, any of it. However, it's always been something around my life, right? Around all of our lives. And Mr. McMahon gives you, in a 6-part documentary, before we even get to the human being who is the center of the focus of the doc, it gives you an outstanding retelling of an oral history, if you will, of professional wrestling, of where it was, the seismic changes that happened, how WrestleMania changed everything, how a separate company, Ted Turner, came in and stole their thunder, how the thunder was stolen back, how the sport went through incredible controversy multiple times, and now where it is today. And of course, a person who has been at the heart of all of that is Vince McMahon, who was the head of WWF, moving to WWE. Vince McMahon has done some incredibly despicable things in his life. Incredibly despicable things. You could say he is a horrific human being. You would be right in saying that. And the documentary is unsparing in showing the horrors of this man, while also illustrating his acumen for promotion, his ruthlessness in business, and the way on the backs of others that this industry was created, cultivated, and grown. It was truly fascinating to me. It was engrossing, and I literally binged it. Like, the first episode, I had to watch the second. I stayed up late. The next day, folding clothes in the bedroom, pulled up the laptop, and just kept grinding. And that night when I got back from whatever, I was like right back into it until I finished it. It comes out as the documentary continues. He has been accused of some truly, truly disgusting things, including sex trafficking within his business. And that's, And a lot of the documentary was filmed before those allegations came out. McMahon refused to sit down afterwards, after he, quote unquote, retired, but left the industry because, he is a complete scumbag. And yet he continues to lurk around the fringe of everything. It's fascinating. It is really well done, and I highly recommend the documentary Mr. McMahon, whether you hate wrestling, whether you are a wrestling fanatic, or anyone in between.
All right. Well, that one sounds interesting, Craig. And you said that's on Netflix, right?
That is on Netflix. All 6 episodes available, and it, like I said, very, very bingeable. It's gonna, in classic Netflix style, it's gonna hook you immediately. It's gonna always have something at the end of the episode to keep you rolling, and you'll get through 6 in a hot hurry.
All right.
Okay, so we got Teacup on Peacock, and we also have Mr. McMahon on Netflix. Let everybody know, Media Melanie, where they can follow you throughout the week.
You can follow me at Media Melanie on the socials and subscribe to my YouTube channel at MediaMelanieTV.com.
Appreciate you so much, Media Melanie. Have a great weekend. I know you're going to be second screening the big game at your kids' Little League game tonight, right? Or is it football? I forgot.
Sure am. It is travel baseball.
Travel
so
baseball.
Double baseball going on tonight. Yes.
You're going to be cheering for a hit, and it might not be the hit in the game you're watching, but it's quite all right. Melanie, thank you again.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
You bet. There goes Media Melanie. Appreciate her as always.
Always. And she gave a great recommendation. Love it. Always see people in the chat who have watched her recommendations. And that is actually a very interesting one about Vince McMahon, who, a lot of times when you are someone like that, will be protected in many ways, even when you're pushed out of the industry or pushed out of the empire.
Yeah.
Because of the money that you brought in, A, the secrets that B, and that people know about you, right? And the other people who were involved. And I mean, the web for something like that goes very deep, you know?
And actually, Adam Paul is right in the chat. After the final blow, like these last damning allegations, which, believe me, are like the 7th set of damning allegations in the history of this guy's sordid career. When those came out, the company that has been formed finally kept him out. Here's a fascinating little dollop. I'll give it, and then we'll go to break. There was a moment when the WWE was on top of the universe, and when combat fighting was, what's the name of Dana White's company, Braden? I am blanking right now.
UFC.
Thank you. When UFC was badly struggling, and they were desperate for an owner. And the son of Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, came to his dad and said, we have to buy this. We have to buy UFC. With our talent for promotion, with our talent for creating stars, this is going to be huge, Dad. This is going to be so big. Let's get in now. And Vince McMahon not only said no, but completely dissed him, put him down, diminished him, because Vince McMahon only wanted to create characters that he controlled, where he was able to say before the fight, you win, you lose.
Sure.
And literally someone crosses him and is like, nope, you lost your belt now. Because you argued with me about something, now you're losing the title fight instead of winning.
I mean, it's a full-on control environment, and look, Google some of the lawsuits against him, and you'll see
disgusting.
You'll see some really, really freaky stuff.
Well, now here's the funny thing. So they turned that down back in the day when WWE would have bought and controlled UFC. Now the company TKO is UFC and WWE. They are together.
Yeah.
Guess who's got the majority in control? UFC has the majority in control. They have the 51%. So they get to dictate what WWE does.
Sure.
Not the other way around.
But believe me, like, Vince McMahon has been paid off in droves. Like, someone's
Of
taken care of, protected in a lot of ways. Like, it's wild. I mean, I think that's actually a really interesting one. But anyways, I have some updates from Dave Roberts.
Oh, let's get to
for
that.
some Dodgers news.
Yeah, let's get to that right after this timeout. Full everything that you need to know, the latest from Dodger Stadium. When we come back with our final segment, it's Annie and Elsten on The Fan. 1:41 is the time. It's the final segment of the week. It's Annie and Elsten. Thank goodness. I love doing this show with you guys and for this audience every day. And today, it just like, I just
Can't
gotta get
wait
to
for it to
5.
be
I just
over.
gotta get to 5.
I'm sure everyone listening to us too is like, let's get to 5 already.
Wait for this to be over.
Just like, each minute, like I can feel my body getting more, just
Especially
everything right now.
Now that lineups are coming through,
Yes.
and you see people down at the stadium, you're starting to see some social media movement, and it's getting closer, but still kind of far away.
All right, so what did you see and hear about Yoshinobu Yamamoto?
So Dave Roberts, this is from Jack Harris, who we had on the show last week, writes for the LA Times. Dave Roberts said everyone in the bullpen is available today, but they might not be able to do as many multi-inning up and downs as in Game 4. That factored into the decision to start Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roberts said. And then a lineup change already, although I don't know if this was the right, we already had this, but Kike Hernandez moved up to 7th with Gavin Lux now hitting 8th. We might have already had
interesting.
that.
No, that's a switch.
new.
Okay.
That's a switch because before it was lefty-righty the whole time. Now there will be 2 righties next to each other, Smith and Hernandez.
And then Dave Roberts said, I believe in this team more than any I've had.
Also from Jack Harris, he says Freddie Freeman still has to go through pregame before he gets a final green light to start. So
There you
this
go.
could be gamesmanship yet again for LA. They could already know that Freeman is not going to be in the lineup, but they're gaslighting everybody until before the game.
And then Dave Roberts says about Yoshinobu Yamamoto, at the end of the day, we're making a bet on the guy to pitch the game of his life. I don't know that Dave Roberts would do this if it was just up to Dave Roberts. I think that this is influenced by the front office.
I'd agree with that.
I agree with that, too.
I also think the Freddie Freeman thing, just from a perspective of another team, Padres are going to be like, he's either playing or he's not. We ain't got to worry about it. We should be expecting him to play.
Yeah, and I think exactly, especially also after what happened the other day. And I even think that the Padres kind of half expected him, not to be in the lineup for too long or perhaps being scratched on Wednesday. Like, I'm sure they're accounting for it either way.
I honestly think he's detrimental to that lineup.
I mean, he
Because
is.
he's hurt.
Especially when you look at what happened with Freeman
I
and
agree.
when Rojas was over there at shortstop. Like, you've got 2 hobbled guys that could be the difference in a game, being able to make a play.
I mean, who knows what type of enhancements he'll be on tonight to make it through. And,
he'll
maybe
be shot up for
maybe he
sure.
gets a bunch of hits or whatever. But, I just feel like he's trying everything he can to help his team, but in reality, he's hurting his team by playing hurt because him hurt is not necessarily better than having a healthy player in there. And I think that's been the case this series. Yeah, he's gotten some hits, but he really can't leg out a double, and he can't get to the same balls that he can get to defensively. So, it's actually probably, you almost want him in the lineup if you're the Padres.
I agree.
I actually agree with that. I agree with that, Braden, because you have someone who is very vulnerable, and you're right. Like, your ankle is okay until it's not, and in the back of Freddie's head, there's some pain involved, and there's also like, when is it going to give out? Just like the other day when he
there were
jumped up to grab that
there were
ball.
2 plays in Game 3 that were affected by Freddie Freeman's ankle. He is able to keep his feet, in all likelihood, on the Merrill ground ball if he doesn't have a bum ankle, and maybe he just steps inside Machado and turns a double play right there, and the Padres never get that 6-run inning at all. They get 0 runs in that inning instead of 6. And the other was, later in the very same inning, Peralta hits a ground ball inside the first base bag that goes down the line for a 2-run triple, and I think Freddie, on a healthy ankle, at least knocks that ball down. So whether or not he's able to get his line drive stroke, and he is mostly a hands and wrists hitter anyway. So I think hitting-wise, Freeman isn't that diminished. But from a base running standpoint, he's a 0. And from a defensive standpoint, he goes from a great first baseman to a challenged first baseman. So I'm with Braden completely and with Annie. Like, I generally think an injured player in a lineup trying to be tough in a big game is not going to be the version of themselves that you're afraid of when they're at the top of their health.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if you have to take him out, then you're behind the 8 ball with, a different guy that's in there that's a pinch hitter. Then you have to move everything around in the defense again. I mean, it's really putting you in a bad spot if it doesn't work out and he can't play. But we got a Padres lineup.
We got a Padres lineup.
Oh, I see it now.
We got a Padres lineup. Here it is. It's the same lineup.
That's the exact same.
Let's go through it.
It's the same lineup. Luis Arraez leads off at first base. Your right fielder batting second, Fernando Tatis Jr. Jurickson Profar is the left fielder hitting third. Manny Machado is in the cleanup spot at third base. The center fielder batting fifth is Jackson Merrill. Xander Bogaerts will play shortstop and bat sixth. David Peralta gets the start at DH once again. He will hit seventh. Jake Cronenworth is batting eighth and playing second base. And Kyle Higashioka is the catcher hitting ninth. For the Padres, it's Arraez, Tatis, Profar, Machado, Merrill, Bogaerts, Peralta, Cronenworth, Higashioka.
So, I mean, you have two lefties back-to-back, like you've talked about at the bottom of the lineup there with Peralta and Cronenworth. But in the newly done Dodgers lineup, you have two righties back-to-back, right, at the bottom of the lineup-ish. Yeah. Pretty balanced, though. Pretty balanced overall.
I mean, that lane still exists. Mm-hmm. The lane of Merrill through Arraez is a lane which I guarantee you, if he can, Dave Roberts will pitch Anthony Banda one time to those hitters, and then he will pitch Vesia one time to that grouping of hitters. And I would be surprised if that doesn't happen.
I also wonder if, like, the whole 15 innings talk about no offense, which is obviously very factual, and you're correct to talk about it, if that could help the Padres in a game like this. Like, sometimes, you got to hit the bottom a little bit. You hit the bottom, and then you're like, okay, we got to make sure. Sometimes it can be a trap to just have a ton of success and then kind of get caught off guard in a game where maybe they've prepared for something that maybe you haven't thought of. So perhaps not having the offense going the way that they would like to in the last game and a half, maybe sets them up to consider some things that they might not normally do if they had just kind of been skating into this spot. Well, if they had been skating into the spot, I guess they would have won Game 4. But anyways, you guys see what I'm saying? Maybe it does actually help them in the long run.
Given that Yamamoto is starting, I don't have the exact same gripe that I had going into Game 4 when you knew that a reliever would come in before you got through the lineup once. So if the Dodgers take Yamamoto out before Peralta comes up, that can't be good news for LA. It just can't be. I mean, I guess there's a world, maybe, where Yamo went 1, 2, 3 twice and then they just pulled him. But I do not see that. I see this as LA is treating Yamamoto like he's going to pitch them to a victory this evening. And you had the Dave Roberts quote of, at the end of the day, we're betting on him to pitch the game of his life. He began that press conference. I was trying to find the exact quote, but it was like, well, we brought him here to be a top-end pitcher. So there it is. And when I read the quote, I was like, okay, Friedman 100% wants Yamamoto to start this game. Mark Walter wants Yamamoto to start this game. They spent $325 million and gave him an 11-year contract, or is it 12? 11 or 12-year 12-year contract to be the Dodgers ace out of Japan. If they don't give him the ball here, they're telling him they don't believe in him. That's what we're getting now from L.A. That's what we're getting from L.A.
Almost like pitch and cease the day before.
Almost like pitch and cease the day before, Braden. That's exactly right. And that cost us, and let this cost them. Let this cost them. Let this be the mistake that sends L.A. into the offseason shedding blue tears. Let this be the mistake. Let the Padres take a lead on Yamo. Now, if they don't, I'm not turning off the TV, okay? If they don't, if Mookie Betts hits another homer, I'm not turning off the TV. Like, the Padres can come from behind. They've done it all year. They've come from behind late all year. They've beaten closers all year. This team has the resilience and the wherewithal to handle any baseball situation tonight and to handle it victoriously. I truly, truly, truly believe that. And I don't put anything into the universe for negativity in any way. It is a reminder, no matter what, stay behind this team until out 27 is recorded, because the San Diego Padres have put together a very special unit. And after I came home from the 8-0 game, I told him, we lost. And she goes, I thought you said the team was special. And I'm like, I know, right? I'm like, well, you know what?
Come on, Craig. How did you miss that?
If they get to write the story of a win tonight, this becomes, just like I said, another battle back from adversity, right? Like, it's something else that you stand on. You take it into the next series. You go, hey, we were out of it before. But we got back into it. We ended up winning. It strengthens your belief and your resolve in the team and what you've gone through to get to this point. No one said it's going to be easy. No one.
Yamamoto probably feels he's pretty superior to most pitchers in baseball, but I guarantee you he does not feel he is superior to Yu Darvish. He does not feel that way.
And this is, again, where I think that the experience that Yu Darvish has and the ability, bless you, Braden, the ability for him to have been in these moments before and to not have always had his best stuff, for it not to have always gone well for him, but he's learned from it. And the more experience you have, the more that you are in these intense do or die moments, the better you can build yourself to learn from them and come in the next time. And Yu Darvish, at this point in his career, there's nothing he hasn't seen. There's nothing he hasn't done, right? Like, he's seen it all. So I think that this is the guy that you want on the mound that is able to intelligently assess the situation, but not let the moment get too big for him. Where I think there's a disadvantage for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, besides his stuff being hit by the Padres, an advantage for the Padres, of course, is that he gets spooked. You can tell when he gets a little rattled. You can just see it in his face. You can see it in his body language. And when you are in a do or die situation as a first-year pitcher in the United States coming over from Japan, I think this is a big ask for him. Dave Roberts said in today's press conference, like everyone else, I'm curious to see how Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going to come out, but I do feel that he's ready for this moment. I don't think he's going to run from it. I mean, that's not exactly like the most ringing endorsement. But he says, we don't have the same as far as bullpen availability tonight as we did the other night as far as up and downs. I think that realizing that Yoshinobu is here to be a top-end starter, this is his time, yada, yada. So, yeah, this sounds like, they would have probably liked to do what they did the other night, but I think that they also are in a position where, it sounds like they can't because of just the ability to use those arms again the way they did. And B, I bet there's a part of the Dodgers also that know that the chances of them replicating it perfectly, what happened on Wednesday, probably not likely.
It's almost here, gang. It's almost here. It's been our pleasure to steward you through these 4 anxious hours as we get ready to see what happens at Dodger Stadium.
Padres just go out there, play their game, stay within themselves.
Yes.
Don't try to do the hero ball. Just try to play your game.
And if they do, think good things are going to happen. We will be back Monday at 10 a.m. Regardless, we will be here. Padres win. You'll be hearing from Braden and I on Sunday on these airwaves as well. But forget about all that. Gwen and Chris are next. Games at 5:08. Up the Dads!